Yeah. As much as I'd rather go with Teresa. What?
What happened? Oh, I had it turned off. I had it turned off. My bad. That's Flores' fault. He was in here telling me secrets, and I had to turn the audio off. My bad. I was thinking I should show them you. I should show the studio. I should show how you work.
Oh, JR has been thinking about a way to do that as well. We got to get a different camera. Unfortunately, because that thing is not as mobile as we need it to
That's
be.
why I asked you, how mobile is it? Could it doesn't even reach out the door?
Inevitably, if we could ever get this dang thing on the software that I use for my show in the morning, I could have my own camera and it really wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
It would show you and me at the same time.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Well, I'm disappointed that Mr. DiCamillo is not with us. However, we still have to go over the numbers. There are 3 men that have separated themselves in this, and much to my surprise, Javier Becerra is one of them. Not really to my surprise, because I told you that they were going to flood money in once they saw that after Eric Swalwell's departure, that a lion's share of his supporters went to Becerra, and Becerra catapulted literally from 3% being insignificant and maybe not even getting invited to debates to being amongst the leaders. And now in the UC Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies poll, the most recent polls was put in the field from May 19th to May the 24th. Becerra is at 25%. Steve Hilton is at 22%. Tom Steyer is at 19%. And everybody else, including Chad Bianco, are right around 10, 12, 13%, but not really a factor at this point. Just, what are we, 96 hours away from Tuesday? I think it shows a lot that the fact that we've played you that audio of Sochi Hanoso, Biden administration. Do we have that old audio? And I'm trying to run this down Democrats' throats and Republicans' throats, that maybe we can get them to stay home. We can get Republicans to get excited about this, because this man is inept. And that's not an assessment by Republicans. That's an assessment by Democrats. Here is Sochi Hanoso, member of the Biden administration, ratting him out.
They realized that he was not an effective HHS secretary. And if you ask any cabinet secretary, they would tell you the same thing. And so I think that there is I think people recognize this, and I think this is why Tom Steyer has gone to the top.
Well, not any longer, and that's what's so surprising. And the fact that she said you could ask any cabinet member, that is telling. Imagine that she really believes that you could ask anybody within the Biden administration that Javier Becerra was a disaster as Health and Human Services Secretary, and that we're going to allow this guy to run the state of California. And perhaps I was wrong in as much as this is the guy that Steve Hilton wants. This is the guy that may be more vulnerable than Tom Steyer. Because if you go up against Tom Steyer head-to-head in the general, you're going up against a guy with a ton of money, endless funds. Now, Becerra, like I said, is going to be backed up heavily by the Democratic Party. It'll be interesting because most of the candidates on the Democratic side don't like Becerra or Steyer. I think they're more likely to get in line with Javier than they are Tom Steyer. He is like, the billionaire devil, according to Katie Porter. But it'll be interesting. Now that the die is cast and we're hours away, are any of the Democrats going to bail out that clearly know at this point they're not going to win and throw their support to Becerra? Or would Chad Bianco fall on his sword? And I think at this point, that would be the greatest advice I could give him. Make yourself beloved to the party. Make yourself seem selfless. Because I'm sorry, Sheriff Youngblood. I'm sorry, Angela Barton. At this point, Chad Bianco has no chance of winning. That's just the simple math of it. Are polls wrong? Yeah, they can be. But when there's a double-digit difference between you and the two leaders, polls aren't that wrong. Polls aren't that wrong. And like I've said in the past, Chad Bianco's 58 years old. He's a young man in political worlds. And his chance may come up. And in particular, his chance could come up if you show yourself to be selfless, show yourself that you consider the party and us invading this one-party state much more important than your own political career. People remember stuff like that. They truly, truly do. And I think that is the best advice I could give the sheriff from Riverside, to full-throatedly supports Steve Hilton in these closing hours and hopes that that gives him the momentum to maintain. Because if Steyer is just in the polls 3 points behind Hilton. So if Steyer makes a late rush in these last closing hours, we go from thinking we could have gotten 2 representatives on that ticket to having none, having it be Becerra versus Steyer. And after this long haul and the belief that we had an opportunity to break the decades-long stalemate of Republican representation in this state, to be closed out in the 11th hour would be devastating, devastating. And you might even have some Republicans point the finger at Chad Bianco. Like, why didn't he bail out and support Hilton if Hilton is prevented from getting to the general? That any person that can look at numbers could see Bianco wasn't going to make it. Becerra was on the edge of making it, and Hilton, and with Bianco's help, Hilton could have been in one of those 2 if he's not. So that's the best way I can see this thing shaping up. It's just a good thing. We told you Katie Porter had no chance. I'm shocked that these other folks have just kind of whittled down. The undecided is tiny, and it's going to be an interesting thing. And as I've talked about constantly, it's not enough to vote. It really isn't. It truly isn't. You've got to get out and talk to folks, get out and speak to them. In terms of the edge, the survey found that Democratic voters favored Becerra over Steyer by 11 percentage points. Voters registered as no party preference were evenly divided among Becerra, Steyer, and Hilton. That's good news that Hilton's made way with independents. And among likely Republican voters, Hilton led Bianco almost 2-1. So I think that's clear evidence it's time for the Bianco camp to fall in line with Hilton. Let's get at least one Republican in there. Becerra also, I'm reading from the Los Angeles Times, Becerra also had a notable edge over Steyer among women and Latino voters, while Steyer had an advantage among Black voters. Hilton was favored over the 2 Democrats among self-identified libertarians and among voters in Orange County, the Central Valley and Northern Coast and Sierra region, which isn't surprising. The poll also found that 7% of voters remain undecided. So that's a significant number this close to Tuesday. For the first time in more than a quarter of a century, the contest to lead the nation's most populous state and the world's 4th largest economy has consistently lacked a frontrunner despite a plethora of candidates. And what is also truly amazing, and I think, again, it highlights the incompetence of Javier Becerra, Governor Newsom is still saying, my name is Bennett and I ain't in it. He refuses to get involved in this thing. And a full-throated support for Gavin Newsom at this point would do wonders for Becerra. But people within the party know he's incompetent, and they don't want to back a loser. And if Hilton can maintain his position in these polls and get in this general, I think he can take down either Steyer or Becerra, but I think Becerra is more susceptible. The children that went missing when he was the HHS secretary, his record, according to Democrats, not according to partisan Republicans that are just trying to run him down. This is the word from fellow Democrats that he was a disaster in his one opportunity in the White House. Quick time out. We're shifting gears. It's a Friday. We talk entertainment with KGT entertainment reporter Rick Bentley, who's next.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Iranian negotiators reportedly reached a tentative agreement Thursday to extend the ceasefire and the 3-month-old war by 60 days and start a new round of talks on Iran's nuclear program. Iran did not immediately confirm any deal, and President Trump has not yet approved it. Louisiana Republicans passing a new gerrymander that will eliminate one of the state's 2 Democratic majority Black House districts. This comes ahead of the midterms. A fire on an Amtrak maintenance train near New York's Penn Station has injured 5 people and disrupted the service of many commuters. The overnight fire caused train delays in New Jersey Transit an Amtrak rail service into New York, and it briefly suspended the Long Island Railroad service on Friday, earlier today. This is SRN News.
Diabetes, high blood. Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN Newsroom.
Good morning, I'm Kim Gordon. Election Day is Tuesday, and more than 57,000 ballots have been returned to the Kern County Election Office. Over 460,000 ballots were mailed to voters. If you still have your ballot, it can be dropped off in an official drop box, a polling center on Election Day, or put in the mail. Bakersfield Police and the California Highway Patrol will be taking part in a nationwide crackdown Saturday at reducing DUIs. Anyone who suspects a driver is impaired can call 911. From road safety to school safety, the Youth Safety Act has advanced in the California State Senate. The bill would increase collaboration between schools and local and state agencies. If approved, the bill would establish a pilot program focused on identifying safety threats. I'm Kim Gordon in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Kern County is hiring its next state assembly member. Let's review the applicants. Applicant 1, Ana Palacio. Top funders, Sacramento Special Interests spending big to buy her the job. Healthcare plan, $700 billion government takeover that eliminates Medicare for millions of seniors and gives control of our healthcare decisions to Sacramento politicians. Pretty radical. There's no way we can afford Ana Palacio. Applicant 2, Andre Gonzalez. Experience, elected to the Bakersfield City Council. Record, addressed housing affordability, and brought jobs to Kern County. Healthcare plan, expand access, and bring a medical school to Kern County. Accountable to Kern County voters. Oh, easy choice. Vote for Andre Gonzalez for state assembly. Kern County's voice every time. That paid for by Keep California Golden. Ad committee's top funders, California Association of Realtors, Alliance of California's Farmers and Ranchers, and California Building Industry Association. Not authorized by a candidate or a committee controlled by a candidate.
In 2026, Bay Alarm celebrates 80 years of security. With burglar and fire alarm systems, 24/7 in-house monitoring, and local service, our promise to the Central Valley remains the same. We got you. Learn more at bayalarm.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, mornings 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Monday edition of the First Look program, we'll have the latest on our, 5th and 6th proposed data centers. We will have America's Job Center. We'll talk about jobs and the likes. We've got the hot list. We've got traffic and weather with all the news you come to school and expect. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1
All right, here
and
we go.
AM 1230 KERN.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa. I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa. I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa.
And don't it feel good? It feel good Friday. And that means KGT entertainment reporter Rick Bentley is live in.
Good. How are you? I know you feel good.
I feel great. Feel great. Early in the week, and I'm playing 72 holes of golf.
Wow.
So 96 holes.
I'm
Actually.
impressed.
Well, be impressed on Tuesday when I actually play the 3. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
back out of one of the rounds, but yeah, I'm excited.
And then Tuesday's a big election day.
Huge election day. I love this week that we're coming into, because there's so many things to talk about. The death of Robert Kennedy, the anniversary of the commemoration of that. D-Day.
Yeah.
We celebrate the anniversary of that. And you're right, big election and just a lot. Midway happened on June 3rd or the 4th, I believe. So there's a lot to talk about next week. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, there's always plenty to chat about.
Well, not really.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't do your job on a daily basis for anything.
Sometimes it's a little more difficult
It's
than
like,
others.
okay, some famous columnist once wrote, when you start writing about your own shoes, you know you've had that day where there's nothing to talk about.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I think Herb Benham used to do that a lot. He would talk about his shoes. It seemed like he would talk about his kids a lot. It's like, Herb, talk about something else.
I just remember reading Well, let me be quiet. What's going on in the world of entertainment?
Oh, nothing.
Yeah.
No, we're heading toward that summer slump where all the favorite network shows have packed up and gone home. Some of them coming back, some of them not coming back. We're going to start hitting that summer. We're going to fill the schedule with much stuff that doesn't cost anything as possible. So, America's Got Talent's coming back next week. We've already had American Ninja Warrior come back. We see a lot of that stuff that just doesn't cost much because people aren't necessarily watching that much TV in the summer. They're outside.
Someone asked me to ask you, had you seen any of the 2 Yellowstone spinoffs and your thoughts on either one, if you have?
I have not.
No, Marshall.
Which I guess. Let me back up. I've seen Marshall.
No, that's the one with the second son.
Right.
Goes off on his own.
Yeah, and then becomes a marshal, and then they handle the law enforcement on the reservation, and it's fine. I think as spin-offs go, that one spins off far enough from the original story. I have not been drawn to watch Dutton Ranch
and Dutton's Ranch is the girl and
right.
And who is the redhead's love interest on Dutton Ranch?
Oh, you're talking about Beth Dutton? That would be Rip.
Rip. It's Rip and Beth.
Right.
That's that whole series.
Yeah.
Have you seen? You haven't
I
seen
have
that?
not seen any of it. A little bit of me being petty. They offer us these interviews to do for these new shows, and so they said, "Hey, we can get you some interviews for Dutton Ranch." Okay, and then they said back, "Well, we're sorry at this time we were unable to set you up with an interview." So it's like, okay, if you don't want me to do an interview and do a story, I don't care about your show. I've got plenty of others to write about. So I go off and do other things.
In the Marshall show, I saw a bunch of clips because he's an interesting character.
Yeah.
But what makes his character interesting is his wife and son. And I don't see them in any of the clips that I saw.
Well, they were in the first. Well, his son was in the first one. His wife's dead.
Oh, his wife is dead?
Spoiler alert. Wah, wah, wah. Spoiler alert. Yeah.
They killed her off?
Yeah.
That wasn't during the series. That must have been in the spinoff.
Before they started the spinoff. Yeah, it opened with her being dead.
Was she in the first episode? Or
No.
So they couldn't come to a contractual agreement with her, so they killed her off.
Yeah, or like, well, why do we pay her if we, all we're gonna do is, I think in this case it was easier to just have him go to the grave. That kind of thing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
See, they lost me.
So this is the clue of why you're not seeing her on the show.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And why I won't watch it.
But then again, hey, flashbacks,
Yeah.
all those memories of when we first met. Let me go back and see it. So
Yeah, that's unfortunate because I thought they were the only interesting thing of that show.
yeah, well,
And the relationship with the son.
yeah, I really felt like what they were trying to do was NCIS it, is to take it more away from being sort of that family drama and more into the procedural.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like they've done with this show.
And that's why
that's
why I preferred the family aspect to it, because it was they were a mixed marriage.
Yeah.
She was of Native American descent, very close to her culture.
Yeah.
He was the antithesis to that.
Right.
The Montana cowboy.
Yeah. But yet, and now her culture is embracing him, that he's the guy who's going to sort of, protect them and be the lawman.
I found that fascinating. I really did.
I don't disagree with you at all.
Yeah.
I mean, we have enough, not to downplay NCIS, but we have enough of that. And then we look in the fall, we're going to get NCIS New York. I mean, I just pray for some originality in the network television.
Yeah.
And they'll keep whining about, the numbers are down, ratings are down. Well, you're not giving us anything original.
Yeah.
I mean, I have spent the last few weeks rewatching Mad Men.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
where do you see that?
It's on one of my free LC channels on my smart TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's called AMC Stories. And it was episode after episode of Mad Men. And I forgot.
One of the greatest series of all time.
Oh, I forgot how great it was.
It really
I remember
was.
It was great. But
yeah,
every episode is like, oh my gosh, the writing. I still say, and this was in my very first review of it, I got a little tired of the smoking. But I remember that time, that's when.
Oh my God! Yes. Are you
But
kidding?
I do love those scenes where you know, a woman goes in for an exam and the doctor's smoking while he's examining her. It's like, oh, that's the way it was.
Oh, it was horrendous.
Yeah. You know,
And it just ended right when I started to get into radio, because I can remember working in studios where they just reeked.
Yeah.
Where if the host ahead of you smoked, or the engineer or the producer, the room was, I mean, they would just smoke inside. I mean, the idea that we used to smoke in restaurants and on airplanes.
And I always love the airplanes. This is the smoking and
Yes.
non-smoking.
And I'm in the back of the plane. I'm like, I might as well be smoking.
Yeah, there's no
There's no delineation on a plane.
no, you know, force field that is
Yeah.
keeping the air clean. So
Yeah. And the guys used to smoke cigars
oh yeah,
in restaurants.
yeah, you know,
That is mind-boggling to me.
yeah. I can remember going to the movies and seeing that cloud
Yeah.
up above where people are just smoking away while the movie's going on.
Yeah. What else is going on?
I saw a new movie that I saw Backrooms. It's basically a movie that's based on a web series. It's gotten a lot of buzz with young people. I said in my review of it that it's an example of a movie that can be captivating and frustrating at the same time. Now, here's the setup. A guy runs a furniture store that's not doing good business. He goes down the basement and he finds a door that he didn't know was there. Now, I'm saying door because there's no way to describe. He just kind of walks through the wall. But anyway, stick with me here. I can see you zoning out as I'm talking here.
Absolutely.
And what he finds on the other side of the wall is this endless rooms, hallways, passages. They just keep going and going and going. And the more he travels through and the more he tries to find them, it just keeps going and going. And so basically, it was directed by a 20-year-old by the name of Kane Parsons, who created the web series. And what I feel like he's trying to let you do is say, you come up with your own idea what the movie is. I think what the bottom line is that it's basically talking about, it's the personification of what the human psyche would look like. You know, we have all these rooms and areas in our brain where we keep memories, and some of them are much more clear than others.
Yeah.
And some are a little foggy, a little twisted because we don't quite remember all the details of it. And that those memories just keep going on. And, you know, they will keep going as long as we're alive. And so there is an interesting line at the very end of it where somebody who's actually studying this mysterious collection of rooms says, all we want to do is find one more little bit of information. And I sat there thinking, so do I. I want just a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it's captivating in that I love the concept. I love the idea that, you know, maybe we're looking in the human condition, the human mind. But after 15 minutes of walking through halls and empty rooms, I kind of got it. It was like, okay, you move on, give me something. And so I could have cut the film, but it's interesting. I think it's going to be I saw a screening yesterday afternoon that was packed. Every seat was sold. And I feel like it's going to be big because it had this big YouTube following. It's a big web series following. Now, those who are fans of the web series, the mythology's changed a little bit for the ending of it, but I think they still want to see it because they saw the original. So, interesting concept. But it's kind of a weird thing. I feel like it's one of those. Somebody saw an opening because, you know, we had Mandalorian and Grogu open, which is a big film.
Still doing Mandalorian, still doing big numbers.
Still doing big numbers. And then we got the Masters of the Universe opening next week. So we had that kind of open weekend of maybe we could put something small. I say small because of budget. This is done by A24. It's a small company. But I think it was an opening for them to get it out there. And I think it will be good alternative viewing. I mean, if you're not a Star Wars geek and you didn't grow up with Masters of the Universe, this is a film that's really going to push your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
I think you'll find it compelling, but you also find it frustrating because it goes just like the endless rooms and passages. It really ends up going nowhere. But apparently it's the journey.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think I said in my review, it's a case of mind over matter, where the mind doesn't matter.
Okay.
So
Brendan Fraser's Eisenhower film comes out today.
yeah, I want to see it. I haven't seen it. The only thing that worries me is that Elena Rusk, who's the meteorologist that I work with at Channel 17, saw clips of this film, and this is only based on clips, but she says there's satellite images that they're using in the film, and she said there were no satellites for images at that time. So I don't know if that's sort of the director saying, had they had, this is what this is what Europe would have looked like with the weather conditions. I don't know.
So I don't understand. Did they use that as part of the film? Like Ike is talking to somebody operating the satellite?
It's a
in 1941, 42,
it's
43?
a clip that shows a satellite image.
Well,
Again,
that I don't mind if it's just an image of what's going on. But if it's
from a satellite, that makes no sense.
well, I mean, you don't have to have sense to picture something. You know what I'm saying? It'd be different if he is communicating with like Houston and we're operating a satellite that's taking pictures.
I am telling you.
But if it's just the director's view of the war battlefield, I don't have a problem with that.
I can't argue it either way because I said it's a clip. It just shows it for a moment.
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
So I don't know what it is. So
yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
it could very well be just again. We have certainly shown reenactments, and we've certainly shown other things like. I mean, we obviously don't have footage of the Civil War, but we see that all the time.
Right.
So anyway,
I'd be fascinated, especially if it's a picture of D-Day and Normandy.
I would love to see what the weather condition was like. Because
that was a huge role in Ike's decision.
That was
They had bad weather, and he went to the weather guy, and he said, "There's a small window. And it's totally up to you. It's it's weather, it's Mother Nature, so I can't tell you 100%. But based on my knowledge, here's the window." And Ike had to make a decision, and he said, "Go." And the weather wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad as it had been.
Right.
And that played a huge role in it. In fact, I just saw last night. I was watching, and I almost saved it. It was a little long. It was about 3.5, 4 minutes. But it was Charles Durning, who what would they know him from best? Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Yeah.
He was on a series with Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
I forget what that series was, but look him up. He's a very great character actor. He's in one of my favorite films, The Sting. He plays the detective in The Sting. And he's also in another one of my favorite pictures I can't come up with right now. Oh, he's in Tootsie as well.
Yeah. And he's also in the George Clooney, the one with the three guys. It's set in the 1900s. Gosh, why am I drawing a blank up? But anyway, he plays a political figure. He played a lot of political figures.
Well, he was in World War II. He's also in Oh Brother, We're Out Thou. That's where you'd remember him.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, he was great in that. You are done with your criminal days, aren't you, boys?
Yeah.
That's a great.
Yes.
Pappy O'Daniel. Pappy O'Daniel. He sings. Anyway. But he was a World War II hero. People don't realize this.
Yeah.
And he was at Normandy, and he did a 4-minute recitation on that experience. And it is riveting, where he's talking about, it's just stupid luck that I'm standing here talking to you today. He talked about the amphib and the ramp hitting, and he said they let us out. Some of us who've studied World War II know these stories, have heard them before. I've certainly heard them on Honor Flight.
Or seen Saving Private Ryan.
Or Saving Private Ryan, and where they dumped them off short of the beach.
Yeah.
And he said, I got 60 pounds worth of pack on me, and I'm 40 feet deep in the ocean. And he said, I stripped off everything, and now I'm on the beach, and I don't have a helmet, I don't have a rifle, and I can hear bullets going by me. And a couple of guys pulled me behind one of those armored things that were on the thing, and they said we got behind a tank. And then the first guy that went ahead of me died, and the guy behind me died. Why I'm here, I have no idea. And he just went on and on and on about climbing the cliffs, and it's moving.
Oh yeah.
And it is. It's just dumb luck. There's no rhyme or reason.
No.
It's just crazy.
And as I told you, I watched The Longest Day again, and there's a whole thing about the Nazi general saying, "Well, we hear that there's some problems, but it's bad weather. There's no way that it doesn't make any sense that they would attack now."
Yeah.
And so, it's that weather was a big part of it. So, I do want to see that film. It was just there was so much buzz everywhere about Backrooms. I felt like that was the one I needed to take on. So,
yeah. What grade would you give it?
I gave it a B-.
Okay.
I mean, it was compelling enough to keep me interested, but again, it did leave me frustrated.
Yeah.
Like,
Has the Michael Jackson documentary come out yet, or is that this Wednesday?
I think it's this week.
This week?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That'll be interesting.
But that film keeps doing well. And I hear people talking about it, especially a lot of people say they take their kids and the kids just love it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking it's sort of serving the purpose that it meant to do. It's all about the very positive parts of Michael Jackson. And
Yeah.
if you just look at that, he's, it's all great. I can see the music is great. The performances are great. I can see why people are seeing it. I just think it's people who, like me, who in the back of their mind can't get past all the negativity that followed.
Right.
So,
And part 2 is already in the works.
yeah, but like we said, what I had read was it's going to use footage from this first one that didn't get used,
Yeah.
and then it's going to concentrate heavily on the music.
Yeah, it's just a money grab by the
Yeah,
family.
that's
all it is.
Well, how many times have I said, if you want to, somebody asks you, why are they doing, spinoffs of Yellowstone? Follow the money.
Yeah, it's all about money. It's too bad too. Did you hear that there is a follow-up book to The Godfather?
I did not.
That it's going to focus on Talia Shire's role as the daughter and going to look at the whole family rise through the eyes of the daughter within the family.
Well, we'll see.
And when I heard that, I thought that was the absolute most boring subject they could have come up with. Really? In a male-dominated society in the 40s and the 50s, you're going to see through the eyes of a young girl who's the daughter of a mob boss?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, but where
do you go with that?
Well, you're going to modernize it. You're going to have her suddenly be,
the secret voice
the secret
behind the
voice behind-
mob?
Yep, I can see that coming. It's like, yeah, they're not going to write it as if it was occurring when it was supposed to occur. It will be with a modern mentality to it.
You think?
Yeah, and that's it's just going to ruin it.
But how could it be the Godfather? What, is she going to be the granddaughter or something?
Godmother?
I don't get it. I don't get it. Anything else going on? We still got some time.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just one of those. I'm trying to get caught up on some old TV shows I hadn't watched. There's a new Spider-Man TV series called Spider Noir with Nicolas Cage starring in it. I'm going to watch tonight. Yeah, it's one of those times where I'm in flux right now because I'm wrapping up everything about that happened during this past year, and now I'm leaning toward looking at everything that's coming up. I'm a member of the Critics' Choice Association. I'm on nominating committees for like 6 or 7 different categories of our award show. So I'm focusing on that. Yeah, it's a good time. It's a weird time.
Yeah.
And I think one of the weird things I'm sort of following now with the movies is concerned is all this merchandising. I mean, The Mandalorian had these specialty popcorn buckets. I don't know if you've ever bought a specialty popcorn bucket, but you could get some of the actual walkers, the big characters from full of popcorn for like $79, or you could get Baby Grogu in his little bowl-shaped ship and get popcorn in it for like $39. But now I just saw where the KFC is going to put in their kids' meals Supergirl toys. So this sort of merchandise, I think what we're seeing is movie theaters are just not making it with a movie ticket. And I think it's all this peripheral where all the companies are going to make their money nowadays is making sure they have a deal in place with McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, and now KFC, and that's or the specialty popcorn buckets. There was a specialty popcorn bucket for The Devil Wears Prada 2. It was a Prada bag, not a real one, but it was a plastic version of it that you could have bought full of popcorn. And so, yeah, even adults, I get it sort of with The Mandalorian because you've got that built-in audience that's going to buy any merchandise they can. But when I saw that the Devil Wears Prada had a Prada bag popcorn thing, it's like, well, I don't know if that's your audience, but
yeah, that's crazy.
And again, they only got a limited number in the local. You could go online and buy it if you want.
Yeah.
So,
have you seen the John Madden movie? I've been looking for that. I keep seeing clips.
I haven't seen it.
Nicolas Cage. Have you seen this, Chris? Nicolas Cage playing John Madden?
Yes, yeah, we talked about this on the show.
Have we?
Yeah,
where is it available?
That I'm not sure. I know it's coming sooner rather than later, but I
And
don't know the release date.
Who plays Al?
Oh, why do I want to think it's Sebastian Stan? But I might be wrong on that. Give me a second.
I can't remember, but you haven't seen it either?
I haven't seen it either.
And apparently, Nicolas Cage put on real weight to play Madden, but I just don't see it. And I want to see this.
Yeah.
John Madden was a fascinating cat.
Oh, yeah.
His relationship with Al Davis was incredible.
Yeah.
I would love
Christian Bale. Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. See, see.
Now that's interesting casting.
That is an interesting cast.
I can't imagine Christian Bale and Nicolas Cage in the same room.
Two very neurotic, weird
men.
Yes,
yeah.
you're right about that.
And actually, both were great interviews.
I have never seen Christian Bale give a bad performance.
No,
Never.
No, he's
What's the boxing movie with Mark?
Southpaw.
No, he plays the real boxer. I can't remember his name, but Christian Bale plays his meth addict brother. It's a true story about a real fighter.
Yeah.
And Bale lost a bunch of weight and plays this chronic meth addict, and he's genius. How he didn't win an Academy Award for that, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant picture.
Well, don't get me started on the politics of the Academy Award. So.
Well, it's ridiculous.
It is. It is. It's also stacked against, who's sending out the best gifts, who's getting the biggest advertising campaigns, all sorts of things. What favors do I owe the other studios? I get my people behind it. It's all politics.
Yeah.
Follow the money.
Yeah. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, I will be working election day on Tuesday. I'm looking forward to that. So anybody that comes by, I'm out church out on Stockdale Highway. Come by and say hi. I will be spending a lot of time just sitting because with that ballot, anybody who hasn't filled it out at home and comes out, they're going to be standing there for a long time.
Really?
Well, yeah. The ballot's like 400 pages long. It's just huge. It's not that long,
Well,
but
it's 2 pages.
Yeah, it's 2 pages.
And it's mostly dominated by gubernatorial candidates.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
the first page of my mail-in ballot was all 61
Well, and I would say
gubernatorial candidates.
on my ballot, a lot of stuff on the back was like one candidate. So,
really?
Yeah. It was like, well, do I vote for or not? Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's only one candidate. So,
yeah, we were just talking about that, the lack of engagement, the fact that we've got people running for positions unopposed. It just
what I think
doesn't make sense.
What I think has caused a lot of it, and we were talking about this at the TV station. Every political ad now is my opponent is awful. My opponent has done this horrible thing. Instead of just saying, here's what I would do for you if I got elected.
Yeah.
There's no more positive campaign ads.
No, it's the
And so
21st century.
I think a lot of people look at that stuff and go, I've always said the greatest president that ever lived never served because they didn't want to run. They didn't want to be involved in all that sort of craziness out there. And I think that's a lot of it, whether it be governor, mayor, dog catcher, it doesn't matter. I think there are great people out there who just don't want to put up with that. That those skeletons may be clanking a little too loud in the closet. So,
Rick Bentley, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend, sir. And we'll see you next Friday.
We got a mystical visit next week.
Kernak, the Magnificent, next Friday. Rick Bentley, everybody. Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend. Headed into the 4, coming up at the bottom of the hour, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. We'll talk about China's invasion on our farmland. We'll talk about water. I got a lot of great suggestions from many of you on Facebook. I appreciate the love. Then coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, a 52-year-old woman who was called the Los Gatos Party Bomb, having sex parties with teenagers, gets 35 years in prison. That's all coming up. I'd stick around if I you. Outstanding. Thank you, sir.
KERN.
That's all right.
96.1 FM, KULC Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
Outstanding.
This hour from Town Hall, I'm John Scott.
Thank
Tensions
you,
still
sir.
high in the Middle East, even after word that a deal with the U.S. may have been reached, something Iran did not immediately confirm.
As ceasefire talks between the U.S. and Iran drag on, the truce has come under another test.
All right, man.
The
Take
U.S.
care. Have a good
has
weekend.
carried out a series of strikes on Iranian targets this week, most recently on Wednesday night. It says these strikes are in response to Iranian threats. In the latest incident, Kuwait says it was attacked by Iranian missiles and drones. Iran confirms that it launched a fresh attack in the region.
Yes.
It says this is in response to American aggression. Now, these clashes have not caused the ceasefire to collapse, but they have left the Middle East on edge.
Correspondent Joe Fetterman. Meanwhile, President Trump held a White House Situation Room meeting with his advisors as he looks to make a final determination on moving forward with the deal to extend the ceasefire. A Russian drone that was part of an overnight attack on Ukraine has crashed into an apartment building. It happened in eastern Romania, injuring 2 people.
The Russian drone was tracked by radar in Romanian airspace and crashed onto the roof of a building in Galati. The impact followed by a fire. 2 people suffered minor injuries and several others were evacuated. In response to the crash, NATO member Romania is asking the alliance for a fast transfer of anti-drone capabilities to its military, calling the drone's flight a serious violation of international law and the worst incident to hit national territory since Russia invaded Ukraine. While Romania has confirmed drone fragments on its territory on multiple occasions since the war started, no one has previously been hurt in any of the incidents. I'm Charles Philadelphia.
In Louisiana, lawmakers passing a new congressional map to pick up a Republican seat while leaving the state with one of its 2 majority Black House districts. The map approved Friday, designed to give Louisiana a 5-1 split. Republicans favor. Governor Jeff Landry expected to sign it. More at townhall.com.
The military, the mission is clear. You knew what to do. Now, the mission has changed. Stepping into civilian life isn't about finding a job. It's finding your purpose.
I wanted a career that would leverage the skills and discipline I gained in the military. IT just felt right.
My Computer Career offers class schedules that fit into your life and skills in high demand. Put your VA benefits to work. Visit mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to jumpstart your IT career today. An elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
One nation under God. Here's Franklin Graham.
I'm inviting you to join with us and to pray for America. Pray that we as individuals and as a nation turn to the God of our fathers, the God of the Bible.
As we approach America's 250th, join Franklin in praying for our nation every day. A new prayer is posted daily at onenationundergod.com. Invite your friends and family to pray too. onenationundergod.com.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update.
Good afternoon, I'm Kim Gordon. Starting on Monday, there are new CalFresh requirements that begin across California, and it could impact thousands of Kern County residents who need food assistance. The new federal rules require any able-bodied adults between the ages of 19 and 64 must work or volunteer for at least 20 hours a week or 80 hours a month to keep their benefits. The ballots are coming into the Kern County Election Office with the primary on Tuesday. So far, more than 57,000 ballots have been returned. The office mailed out just over 460,000 ballots to voters. If you still have your ballot, it can be dropped off at an official drop box, a polling center on Election Day, or put it in the mail. A list of polling sites and drop boxes can be found at kernvote.com. Ridgecrest residents will see 2 additional measures on the ballot. One addresses term limits for council members. The other extends the mayor's term from 2 to 4 years. A Bakersfield student is facing felony DUI charges after a crash on Thursday afternoon. The crash took place just hours before graduation. KGET reports the crash involved 2 18-year-old students at Panorama Drive and Union Avenue. One was driving a motorcycle. He lost control, hit the guardrail. His passenger was ejected down an embankment. None of the injuries are life-threatening. West Kern Avenue in McFarland will be closed this afternoon until 7 o'clock for the police department's bike rodeo. Residents in the area will be allowed to get in and out of their homes during the event. I'm Kim Gordon in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
To the rest well in a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
Too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The Ralph Bailey Show. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hour 2 of the broadcast on this Friday, 29th day of May, headed into June. And you know what that means here in Bakersfield. They can whine and cry about 90-degree heat in Paris. But we're looking at 3 digits on the way. It's going to be a long, hot summer. A great motion picture starring Paul Newman and his wife and Orson Welles. Great picture. The long, hot summer. 842-5376, 842-KERN. Anything on the board?
Yeah, we got a couple.
And don't forget, coming up at the bottom of the hour, 4:30, we're going to talk with Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. And thanks to many of you, I've got a plethora of questions. I've got too many questions. What do you got?
Ralph, in all fairness, you're correct with your analysis of what you say about this race for the race for California governor.
Yeah, it's shaping up pretty apparent. You know, what are we, 96 hours away? And I just, my thesis is try to talk Mr. Bianco, the sheriff of Riverside County, to team up with Steve Hilton. It is clear that Mr. Bianco is not going to be one of the two. And in fact, according to the UC Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies poll, Mr. Hilton is on the precipice of being passed by Steyer. You know, the pecking order now is Javier Becerra, because the Democratic Party has supported him here in California. But you notice, and this is telling, that the governor still, this 11th hour, is not endorsing Javier Becerra, because there is a deep secret within the Democratic Party that he was a disaster as the Human Health Services Secretary. And we played you the audio of a Biden administration cabinet member talking about this, and Abby Phillip, the CNN liberal host, saying, this isn't the first time I've heard this. And so it is shaping up to those 3. And if Steyer makes a late rush, we go from thinking we're going to have 2 Republicans at the top of the ticket to having none. So again, I beseech you, it's important to do more than just vote, to call friends, to contact the elderly and make sure they've either cast their ballot or, because there's no cast is the past tense of cast, not casted, or make sure they get to the polls. It's not enough just for you to vote. That's how important this thing is. We're outnumbered, so we've got to make up for that with enthusiasm and organization. And the only way we can do that is if you seriously delve into this thing and literally talk to your friends, talk to your relatives. You got sisters and brothers in this town. You got family that are of voting age. Talk to them. Are you voting? Have you voted? Well, then why haven't you? Get out there. This is a very, very pivotal election. We have not been this close to the governor's office since Arnold Schwarzenegger, damn near at the beginning of this century. So let's seize this opportunity. Let's take this state in a different direction. The incompetence of the past has finally caught up with the Democratic Party. And there are moderate Democrats and a ton of independents and libertarians who are fed up with the status quo and have seen what the Democrats have done to this state in terms of the hundreds of millions of dollars that has been spent on homelessness. And yet it only gets worse. And people are lining their pockets with money that is designated for the homeless. And yet, even Spencer Pratt, one of the key points of his campaign down in Los Angeles, where he's going to beat Karen Bass, not outright in the primary, they're going to get into a runoff, and he's going to beat her straight up. And one of the key points of his entire campaign is, look, why can't we confess the truth? Why can't we talk about this like adults? That the overwhelming majority of homeless people aren't some woman that was involved with a vicious man that was slapping her around and she needs a place to go. We've got places that handle that. But we have an issue with drug addicts who are sleeping on our sidewalks, destroying our property, sleeping in hallways where it's allowed. I mean, as I've always said throughout my entire career, essentially, this has been a problem since I've gotten into radio. Isn't it more cruel to allow these people, particularly during the summers, to sleep on the streets than it is to put them in some sort of mental institution? You know, I was just watching last night, the Camarillo, one of the CSU campuses was converted from a mental institution. I believe, I can't remember which one it is. I think it's Camarillo. Don't quote me on that. But we've talked about this, how it's my weird belief that Cuckoo's Nest, the Mike Douglas film. Yeah, Mike Douglas was the executive producer. He was a really young kid, and he bought it from his dad, from Kirk Douglas. And he was key in hiring Jack Nicholson as one of the key players in that film. And Danny DeVito's in that film, if you remember. And if you're too young, Chris, to remember that film, it's a film about a kind of a scallywag, Jack Nicholson, who is not mentally incompetent, gets thrown into a booby hatch, thinking that it'd be easy time. And he kind of organizes the guys and tries to get them to do different things, turn on a World Series, play basketball, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end, it's a kind of a harsh ending. And, you know, this was right around Watergate in the early 70s. And I truly believe that the publicity from that film got journalists interested in examining mental facilities in Los Angeles and throughout the state. And what they discovered was, because one of my buddies works for the U.S. Attorney's Office, and one of his assignments was going after some of these institutions. And they were horrible. They were horrendous. And it was depicted in that film. And then the journalists got after it, and they discovered that it was accurate, and they shut them down. And until we recognize that we have a pandemic, a mental health pandemic, where we've got professors trying to break through metal detectors and shoot the president of the United States. You know, this last assassination attempt, this kid was not your typical, you know, freak. This guy was an educated man. Granted, 30-something years old, living with his mom and his daddy. That should have been significant enough. With a highly educated, I think he had a master's degree. He was a professor. But we are in the midst of a mental health pandemic. And until we deal with that, and I'm sure many of you have heard Karen Bass's incredible bite about helping the homeless get teeth, because meth destroys your teeth and you can't get a job with no teeth. What are you talking about? Why don't we get them off the methamphetamine first? They can go toothless for a while. Let's just get them straight first. How about that, Karen? So I think this is going to be pivotal, this whole situation with the homeless, high-speed rail, fraud throughout the state, the activities of Rob Bonta, our Attorney General. It is an embarrassment, an absolute embarrassment. And I think, again, moderates and independents, both in Los Angeles and throughout the state, are fed up. And they're willing to take a shot at the change. And I think that change is going to come in Steve Hilton and Spencer Pratt down in LA. What else you got?
Mr. DiCamillo actually texted us here at about 3:30. Said, "I'm sorry I got called away. My apologies to Ralph. It's a busy time."
That's all right. That's cool. That was nice of him. But no, like I can do 4 or 4:30 or 5 or
No,
5.
Unfortunately, he didn't get back to us on that one. I did say that hopefully we can reconnect here pretty soon and get him on ASAP.
All right, very good. That's okay. He's a good dude. Really good dude. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, lots going on. We'll get into it's a bad day for Donald Trump. A bad day. A pair of judges, I got a feeling he's not going to be very happy with. One judge says, take it down. Take it down. Take it down to Chinatown, forcing the president to take his name off the John F. Kennedy Center, named after the late president following his assassination. And If you can explain how Donald Trump or why would want to put his name ahead of John Kennedy's, I'd love to hear your explanation for that. I really would. And another judge says, you know that slush fund that you created? Well, I want to hear from both sides on this. I'll explain when we come back. It's the Ralph Bailey Show. Then at the bottom of the hour, and we're a little nervous because we're depending on the secretary to call us. This is one of the rare times, if ever. I don't think we've ever done this, have we, Chris? Depended on an outside the state guest to call us. That is incredibly rare, but we're relying on her people. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins at 4:30. In the meantime, you're listening to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, where we stream live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio.
There's a real bad joke there about trusting the Trump administration, but I'm not going to touch it.
No kidding.
We got Casey right here.
All right.
On the Monday edition of the First Look program, we'll have the latest on our, 5th and 6th proposed data centers. We will have America's Job Center. We'll talk about jobs and the like. We've got the hot list. We've got traffic and weather. All the news you've come to know and expect. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Had the most delicious, gorgeous piece of meat last night at Casey's Steakhouse. Yeah, I went with the filet, and I even had a baked potato. Screw my A1C. See, that's the great thing about dieting. If you are diligent and disciplined, you can cheat every now and again. And where would you rather be than at 1915 F Street if you're going to cheat on your diet? Just a skosh. And I discovered that some of Cassie Biddle's desserts come from Tastry's Bakery. I was really happy to see that. And in fact, I saw several people ordering the very 3 dessert items that are on the menu from Tasty's Bakery. And I also heard this. One of the waitresses came up and told me that somebody came in that afternoon and asked for the Ralph Bailey. It warms my heart when you do that. And what is the Ralph Bailey? It is a gorgeous chicken breast that is smothered in a creamy mushroom and spinach sauce. You can do the true Ralph Bailey by getting the sauce on the side so you can dollop it up yourself. But where would you rather be this weekend? At the best steakhouse in Kern County, KC Steakhouse, longtime sponsors of the Ralph Bailey Show.
Supervisor Jeff Flores here. I'm proud of what we've accomplished together for Kern County. We've completed over 75 miles of new roads, as well as major road repairs, improving safety and traffic flow. We've opened a new facility on Roberts Lane that has captured 7 million pounds of bulky waste from our streets, completed major upgrades at Sandlin Ballpark and Hart Park, where a water splash pad is now under construction. And when you asked for stronger public safety, I listened and took action. We filled more than 200 new deputies and counting.
I'm Sheriff Donnie Youngblood. I've watched Jeff prove himself from day one, especially his commitment to public safety. Jeff listens and follows through. Our county is better for it. Please join me in voting for Jeff Flores.
I'm proud of the real progress we've made, but there's more work to do. I will continue fighting for a safer, stronger Kern County. I'm Jeff Flores, and I'd be honored to have your vote.
Ad paid for by Jeff Flores for Supervisor 2026.
Meet Paul Sheldon's client, Dr. Roland Rodriguez.
Hello, this is Bakersfield General Surgeon, Dr. Roland Rodriguez, client and friend of Mr. Paul Sheldon. It is my great pleasure and privilege to relate to all of you my absolute exemplary experience with Team Paul Sheldon. I have also referred a number of my colleagues to Paul Sheldon's office, only to receive the most stellar feedback from my doctor friends regarding the office's expert navigation through the complex maze that is Medicare. And even though Paul Sheldon himself is now facing some temporary health challenges, his long-standing and most experienced and expertly trained team of ladies, Christine, Kelly, and Lynn, continue to masterfully guide the clients through the complicated world of Medicare. You most definitely could not possibly do any better than to reach out to Paul Sheldon several months before turning 65. Thank you.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Looking forward to this weekend. I'm really, really excited. playing in a tournament tomorrow with Mark Swain, a two-man shamble on the front, and then you're on your own on the back, which is not good news for me because I killed the front nine at Sundale. I shot consecutive 42s, which I would give my left thumb if I could shoot 42 up at BCC. But then I don't know whether it's Randy thinks it's fatigue. I don't think it's fatigue, but I traditionally crap the bed on the back. I shot 42-48 last Sunday. That's just unacceptable, and just making doubles on the back. And I went and hit balls today because Mark is all excited. That's what's got me so excited. And it was kind of him to ask me to be his partner because of we play a group of guys on Sundays. It's about 3 groups, about 12, 16 guys, mostly 12. And I'm probably the worst player in the bunch. And it's crazy. I don't feel like I'm the worst player in the bunch, because the other guys in our group, we play with a guy named Tommy who's like an 8, and another guy named Mark who's about a 10 or a 12. And I don't feel like they're kicking my ass. And then we come in the clubhouse and they're like, I shot 81, I shot 82, I shot 90, and I don't feel like they blew me away by like 10 strokes, but they're making bogeys and pars and I'm making doubles and triples on the back. So, but I'm excited. I'm really, really excited about this thing. And then I'm playing probably with them again on Sunday morning. And then I'm playing in the Hey There Delilah tournament on Monday. I am the 4th in a foursome, which that's going to be strange. I haven't played with people I don't know in a long time, but anything to help the cause. In the meantime, as I talked about, a judge has ordered the work on Trump's anti-weaponization fund to end. The judge has said that he wants to hear both sides of this argument on why we should be paying criminals who attack Capitol police officers. And remember, this is all hatched up by Todd Blanche, the president's former personal attorney. And there's no rhyme or reason for how this is doing it. Blanche gets to pick the 5 board members who get to determine who gets the money, how much, and there's absolutely no transparency to it. I might have it still in my notes how it's described, but there's absolutely no sense of accountability, where we're not going to know who they gave the money to. We're not going to know why they gave the money. And we're not going to know how much money anybody received. And I just don't understand if this thing is on the agreement states that payments will be reported quarterly to the Justice Department, but those records will remain confidential. And the fund members, the people that Todd Blanche has selected to pick who gets the money, the fund members will get to decide whether to disclose their process for granting or denying claims. So in other words, Todd Blanche is giving them carte blanche. They get to determine whether they're going to tell us why Chris Burdick got money, how much money, and who is he? In fact, transparency isn't even the word. It's a very secretive little club that they've created. Well, a judge today said, hold on a second. And I don't want a nickel going out until this June 12th hearing that they're going to have, where both sides, because there are a number of plaintiffs in this. There are a number of folks. We chronicled to you a couple of days ago the 2 police officers that have a suit, 2 Capitol police officers. But Teresa Goldner joined my 2 attorney friends in Los Angeles who told me in separate conversations, 2 different attorneys in LA, one working with the U.S. Attorney's Office and one in private practice, that neither one of them believed that the 2 officers had standing, that they had any skin in the game, that they were harmed. You have to have harm to bring a case like this. From what I understand from listening to the pundits and parroting what they're saying, is that because again, remember, there are a number of suits fighting this distribution of $1.8 billion. $1.8 billion. And the best that I can glean is one of the prosecutors has the best claim because they prosecuted this case, and essentially what the White House or the Department of Justice is saying, you wrongfully prosecuted these people. That's why we're giving them money. So if I'm the prosecutor and I did my job and I put Chris Burdick, who just ran into the Capitol looking for Mike Pence, and I gave him 5 years in my prosecution, and now you're coming back after that and saying I wrongfully prosecuted him? Well, yeah, I've got some skin in the game now because you're damaging my reputation as a prosecutor. You've accused me of wrongfully prosecuting or me even a judge. There are judges that have filed suit for this thing. There are a number of different lawsuits, again, including the 2 police officers who may not have standing. Many of the plaintiffs don't have standing, but from what I understand, the prosecutors that are involved may. So we'll wait until June 12th, and we'll see what a judge says about this thing. I don't see how it has any merit to it, particularly given the nature in which the Trump administration is doing it, all behind closed doors and these, black drapes, it seems like, where we're not going to know who got money. We're not going to know how much. We're not going to know the process. What? That doesn't sound like a democracy to me. And the other blow that the president took today was the fact that they're telling him to take his name off the damn John Kennedy Center. It's ridiculous. I mean, I support the president. I truly do. I am a Republican. But I don't see how you all can approve of the arch that apparently is going to disrupt the view to Arlington. It might even disrupt planes coming into Reagan. How you on board with a $250 bill with his mug on it? Like, really? Is this why we elected you? To tear down the East Wing and create a ballroom that nobody voted for, nobody wants? And you promised us it wouldn't cost us any money. Now we find out we need security and it's going to cost us $1 billion of taxpayers' money. How can you all sign off on that? I mean, there's just some things that I guess it makes me sound like the bad guy. And I'm not stupid. I do understand that if I just sat here for 3 hours and preached to the choir and told you all what you wanted to hear, my numbers would go up probably, my popularity might go up, who knows, and it'd be easier a show to do. It'd be an easy show to do, just to come in here for 3 hours and preach to you and tell you what you want to hear. I just can't do it. I wish I could. I've been urged by former members of our management who are no longer here to do exactly that. And I said, I can't lie. And that person is no longer with us, thankfully. But there are just some things that this administration does. E. Jean Carroll, why bring that back up? Why? What's the point? And the Trump administration, and Todd Blanche is a significant attorney. He knows they're not going to get her on. They're trying to get her for perjury. They're saying that in her deposition, she lied about a third party, the LinkedIn founder, giving her money for the lawsuit. They're saying that she lied about that. And the DOJ, independently of Trump, of course. Anybody believe that? You don't think that this is not direct instructions from Donald J. Trump that Todd Blanche just came? Let's go after an 83-year-old woman who just won, 83 and 5? $88 million from our boss. Quick time out. We talk with the Secretary of Agriculture. Becky Rollins joins us next. Brooke Rollins. Becky Rollins.
Kern Radio. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. KERN.
Trump still pondering moving forward with a deal to extend the Iran ceasefire and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Romanian authorities say a Russian drone that was part of an overnight attack on Ukraine crashed into an apartment building in eastern Romania. 2 people with minor injuries, several were evacuated. Romania's foreign ministry says the country is asking NATO for a faster transfer of anti-drone capabilities to its military.
Jesus Christ.
Rescue divers in Laos
Matthew Rollins.
have safely evacuated the first of 5 villagers trapped in a cave for over a week. 2 remain missing. Louisiana lawmakers passing a new congressional map to pick up a Republican seat while leaving the state with one of its 2 majority Black House districts. The map approved Friday, and Governor Jeff Landry has signed the measure. This is SRN News.
Hey, if your loved one is
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN Newsroom.
Good afternoon. I'm Kim Gordon. The polls will open at 7 a.m. on Election Day this Tuesday. The Kern County Election Office says so far more than 57,000 ballots have been returned. The office mailed out just over 460,000 ballots to voters. Sewer rates are going up in Bakersfield over the next 5 years, starting this July. The City Council voted to adopt a rate increase earlier this week. The annual charge will go up from $475 to $875 by fiscal year 2030-31. The additional revenue will go to pay for infrastructure upgrades. A groundbreaking this Saturday at 11 a.m. for the new park on the southwest side. The Anton Giovanni Park will have a splash pad, picnic areas, a playground, restrooms, a fitness area, and a dog park. I'm Kim Gordon in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
And we're back.
Yes,
Rob and Bob are back on the airwaves.
Rob and Bob. That's right. Well, not technically. Some contracts have taken longer than we thought.
We're fighting with the man a little bit, but California Fruit Depot still wants us to tell you that the lemons are free.
Yep.
The oranges are ripe.
Free lemons.
Local nuts.
Did I mention free parking?
Smoothies.
What about the big giveaway?
An incredible staff. Yes, the big giveaway. Let's announce this right now for the first time ever.
Yes. Free tank of gas to anyone who shops at Cal Fruit Depot. Some restrictions apply.
You must spend $10,000 on the same purchase.
That's like one tank of gas anyway.
And get a free tank of gas. I will follow you to the gas station, top it off,
It's
maximum
a $5 gift card.
maximum 5 gallons. So if you have a motorcycle, this could work out great for you. Think about that cost per mile. That's not bad.
Only from Cal Fruit Depot.
And that's $10,000 worth of pistachios or $10,000 worth of oranges. Think about it. CalFruitDepot.com. $10,000 offer has many restrictions, many of which you'll never reach. Please see our website for no details.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
842-537-6842-KER. We still got lots to do. We'll tell you about the Los Gatos Party Month coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, and we'll talk a little sports. Philadelphia Phillies are in town for 3 against the Dodgers. In the meantime, we are honored to have the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, join the show. Madam Secretary, thanks for coming on the program. We appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, so happy to be on with y'all. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday. For the first time in my career, I reached out to my audience. I'm a suburban kid from Los Angeles. I don't know a whole lot about agriculture. So I asked my audience here in the Central Valley, the breadbasket of the world, essentially, to help me out. And one of the main concerns in most of the questions focused on China and them gobbling up farmland here in our country, particularly when you examine it. Some of these farmlands are in Montana and Wyoming, as you well know, near some of our nuclear sites. What are your thoughts on this, and can we stop this?
Well, first of all, it's so great to be on with you and all your listeners. And listen, you've got some really smart listeners, because that is one of the most challenging, vexing policy issues right now. In 1983, China owned about a little over 2,000 acres of American farmland. Today, 40 years later, they own almost 300,000 acres of American farmland. And boy, it's even bigger when you talk about all foreign interests and foreign ownership of American land. It's about 45 million acres. And I think that, I've been part of the Trump team for a long time. I was in the first White House as his domestic policy chief in the first term. I built the America First Policy Institute to prepare for a second term in that interim 4 years. So I've been thinking and doing a lot of this with him for a long time now. And this moment that we're in American history where we've got to start putting America first, whether it is the offshoring of our manufacturing, it's the offshoring of our agriculture, the offshoring of our pharmaceuticals. We're changing that. We're rolling it back, and I'm really proud of that work, but we've got a long way to go.
Yes. Obviously, can we get that land back? And how did this begin? And in what administration did we start selling property to the Chinese?
I know it's really been over the course of a couple of decades, but this is why I think this president was so unique. When he came down the escalator in 2015, and it's funny, I'm driving through California right now. I just left the Reagan Library. I spoke at the Reagan Economic Forum, and I talked about this there. I said, he came down that escalator, and when he came down in 2015 and started talking about what a massive threat it is that we've offshored and we're relying now on China and so many countries for so much of, really, really important parts of our country, that's a massive, massive issue. But until that time, the conservative kind of Republican approach to policy makings was that, listen, the cheaper the product, the better. And if China can do it cheaper, then China should do it, or Russia can do it cheaper than Russia can do it. And what happened is over a course of decades, that whole approach basically gutted our towns, gutted rural America, put our farmers out of business, and now here we are. But again, I just feel so strongly at this moment in history, our 250th birthday since the Declaration of Independence. It's a kind of a restoration of American greatness, and I think that's what this president and our cabinet are really working to do, is to make sure Americans understand what's happening. And the fact that some of your listeners are even tracking this is very encouraging to me, but also that we got to do something about it. The states are leading the way. The states like Arkansas and South Dakota and others have passed laws not only to stop the purchasing of farmland, but also starting to claw it back. So I think we're going to make a lot of progress on that in the next couple of years.
Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins is our guest. The obvious next question for the Central Valley is water. And it's a matter of water efficiency and conservation. And how can we here in the Central Valley secure long-term support for our farmers, which is essentially feeding the world, certainly the United States.
That's right. I was in Bakersfield earlier at Allied Potato, a great potato farm. And we had farmers in. I do this wherever I go. I did it in Arizona yesterday, California, to do it in North Carolina on Monday, is we have a round table. And we had a lot of specialty croppers like potatoes and some tree nuts, some almonds, et cetera, citrus. But we also had some ranchers, some beef and some dairy. And I go around the table and ask them, what is the number one issue that you are facing that I can potentially work to help alleviate? And it's funny, obviously different parts of the country have different challenges. But then there's always the same challenge, like labor is a big challenge, et cetera, everywhere we go. But I will tell you, between Arizona yesterday and California today, every single rancher and farmer said that water is, if not number one, number two, or number three. So it is an incredibly complex issue. Obviously, you've got the state, and we have a governor in California that doesn't really align with our America First policy back in Washington, which is a challenge. But every state, agriculture is 1, 2, or 3. Every state. And out here in the West, water is the very top of that list. So Doug Burgum, who's our Interior Secretary, and I are very close. We're working on this. And my promise to those farmers this morning in Bakersfield and the ones in Marana, Arizona yesterday, is that we will lean in and do everything we can. I've been working with the Potter Valley farmers, which is another part of California where you've got the radical left putting fish ahead of farmers. They're wanting to shut some dams down to protect the fish there. And these farmers in these rural communities will literally die without that water. California is a very tough place to do this because of the radical left. But we got to lean in. We can't give up. And we're going to keep working for these farmers every day.
This is from Jack. I'm going to read his question. He wrote this in. Our family farm, a small agricultural operation in Kern County, was approved for a REAP, R-E-A-P grant to help fund a solar system and offset California's extreme energy costs. We budgeted around receiving these approved funds, but shortly after President Trump's second term began, the payments were canceled putting our operation in a difficult financial position. Is there any outlook on whether these previously approved REAP grants will still be funded? And sorry for the long question. That's from Jack. What say you?
Well, I think Jack and I, if I'm remembering right, have actually already been in contact.
Oh, is that
our
right?
Team is working. Yeah, I think that's right. Our team has been working with him to try to solve for some of this. Listen, Ralph, here's the challenge. The last U.S. Department of Agriculture under both the Biden and the Obama administration completely recalibrated the entire organization around solar, around wind, around climate change, around DEI. The amount of funding that was spent, this is no joke, on grants to study queer and BIPOC social justice farming in San Francisco, $200,000. To study the racial inequities in the pest management control system, $350,000. To study the menstrual cycles of transgender men and what they needed, $400,000. I mean, make it make sense. And so the REAP grant that Jack is talking about is really where a lot of that nefarious, stuff was happening. And so part of the president's Department of Government Efficiency, part of the Elon leadership, was to really right-size government and ensure that we're doing everything we can and spending every taxpayer dollar that is spent in a righteous and justifiable way. And most of those REAP grants were not in that category. And so some farms like Jack, the contracts were not signed. We are working one-on-one with those because the farmers are the least, the people we want to hurt the least, and hopefully we're not. But we've been working on those one after one after one. We've also reopened those grants that if they want to reconfigure to, instead of, the climate change stuff, instead of, can we help you build barns? Can we help you build fences? How can we help you? We've worked really hard to capture those. If we haven't captured Jack, I'll ask him to reach out to me on social media.
All right, very good.
We'll keep working with him.
I'm sure he's listening. We appreciate the answer. Again, talking with Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. Another concern are soybeans. We know that the president has recently returned from China. What is the situation with soybeans and our relationship in terms of agriculture with China?
China is a really important market. As many problems that we have with China, they need our ag and we need them to buy our ag, at least for now. The longer policy implication of that, and that's why we've had 24 new trade deals in the last year. Under the last administration, there was not one new trade deal, which is, I don't know what they did for 4 years other than spend money on DEI, but we are where we are, and China is a really big market. So the good news is we have the Chinese commitment to buy 25 million metric tons of soybeans every single year from America, which is huge. And in this last, it's already part of the deal the president struck last year. But in addition to that, China has agreed to buy $17 billion more dollars of our goods than they have in the past. And when we inherited a huge, $40 billion agricultural trade deficit, that $17 billion is going a heck of a long way. So that'll be everything from cotton to sorghum to tree nuts to the parts of cattle that we don't eat here. The offal is what is called, OFFAL. You could also say AWFUL. It's tongue and ears and tails and hooves. But that's great for our cattle ranchers. That'll help bring the cost of beef down here in America. So we're making a whole bunch of progress. The China trade deal went very, very positively, and now we're effectuating what that looks like.
Good. And I don't know how many times you've been here to the Central Valley, but tongue, pretty doggone popular here in Bakersfield and Kern County. I can tell you that.
Lots of tongue in Bakersfield.
There really, truly is. There truly is. We're talking with the Agricultural Secretary of the Trump administration, Brooke Rollins. One final, and it's about fertilizer. Our farmers are concerned about that. Obviously, with the closing of the Strait of Hormuz, the president was in a cabinet meeting yesterday and today. If you know any information that you can share with us about Epic Fury or where we stand with the Iranians, we would certainly would love to get that inside information. But they are concerned about fertilizer. Can you talk about that a little bit?
No, that's right. And fertilizer is a key input. One of the reasons our farmers have really struggled in the last number of years, certainly through 2021 through 2024, but trying to right-size that ship. Inputs increased around 40% in the Biden administration, including fertilizer. So that had all started to come back down. Of course, the president is clearly right that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. And for for a short term, we may see a little bit of increase at the gas pump. We may see a little bit of increase in fertilizer. Some of our fertilizer has stayed steady. Our not nitrogen, but our fertilizer that we produce in America. But fertilizer we get from abroad, like nitrogen, phosphate, ammonia, those prices have increased pretty significantly. So we have opened up some new lanes of fertilizer coming in. We've waived the Jones Act. We've been able to mitigate it. Some of our American companies have frozen their prices. We're so grateful, CF and CHS and some of the others. But the long-term implication here is what we're working to solve. We've now announced a significant amount of new fertilizer plants being built in America in just the last couple of months so that this never happens again. And I'm not saying, unfortunately, no breaking news for you today, Ralph, but what I will say, when the president says we're close and we're going to end this one way or another, either through diplomacy or through strength with our military, it is coming to an end. And I know the president has been laser focused, as has our foreign policy team, Marco Rubio.
Oh, did we lose her?
Doing the Lord's work.
I will leave you with this. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins is our guest. Tell us about Brooke Rollins. You're a Texas gal with the Texas A&M. I was reading that you are the first female student body president at Texas A&M. And is it true that your mother is in Congress or in the state of Texas? She's in the state legislature.
Look at you doing your homework. This never happens on my radio hits. You know what? I am the American dream. I think we probably all have our own version, but my mom was a single mom. We struggled. She made $5 an hour at the local library in my town of 1,200 people in the plains of Texas. I got a Future Farmer of America scholarship, really the first in my family to go to college, go study agriculture at Texas A&M. If you had told that small town girl 34 years ago when she left Glen Rose that one day she'd serve in the cabinet as the Secretary of Ag to, of course, whom I believe the greatest president of our lifetimes, I would have thought you were absolutely insane. But it's an amazing country, and that single mom who scraped the life together for her 3 little girls is now serving in the Texas state legislature. She decided to throw her hat in at 78 years old to run for the Texas House of Representatives against a Rhino incumbent in Texas. Of course, that Rhino would probably be your most conservative member in California,
right?
But in Texas, not necessarily on the America First agenda. And God bless her, she beat him and became the oldest freshman state legislator in Texas history. I'm just so proud of her.
That is incredible. That really, really is. I got one final for you, and then I'll let you go. I promise. We're running out of time. As you well know, Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, is on a maternity leave. She just had her second child, and cabinet members have been filling in. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, the Vice President. You know where I'm going with this. And just recently, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. Are we going to see you in the press room?
Well, to be determined. I really, one of the best parts of my job is just being out with the farmers. And so I'm actually not in Washington very much these days. Maybe one day a week or 2 days a week, but I would love to. I would welcome the opportunity. No one can do it like Caroline.
True.
She is a rock star.
She really is.
I would certainly welcome the opportunity to try. So to be determined, we shall see.
All right, very good. Thank you so much for taking time and talking with us. We really appreciate it. Good luck in the administration, and we hope to talk to you again sometime.
I'd love that, Ralph. Thank you so much.
All right.
God bless you.
Take care. Thank you very much. Brooke Rollins, Secretary of the Agriculture, and I appreciate all of you who inundated me with questions. Jack Kaiser, nicely done. Michael Bowers, who provided me with a script. Appreciate the love. Grew up in Ladera Heights. What do I know about farm? I don't even know how we get tomatoes. Are they on trees? They come out of the ground? Hell, why not? But that was fun. I enjoyed that. She's a nice woman. And one of the more competent members of this kooky cabinet. Quick timeout. We're coming right back. It's TRBS. We'll check the board. We'll get into the 5. Talk about the Los Gatos party mom and her huge sentence. I'll tell you more about that story. We'll get you updated on the French Open. There have been some major upsets on the male side. The women are going according to Hoyle, but on the male side, there are just a couple of top seeds left. as they struggle with the Parisian heat. We'll get into that. And it's Dodgers Phillies for the next 3 days. Two of the hottest teams in baseball. The Dodgers have won, 5 straight? 11 out of 13. And since they brought in former Dodgers skipper and former New York Yankee Don Mattingly, the Phils have gone 20-8. This ought to be an interesting weekend down in Chavez Ravine. Quick timeout. We're coming right back. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on Newstalk 96.1 and AM 1230, where we stream live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230.
Messmaker.
Bay Alarm celebrates 80 years of security. For the Central Valley, that means local service including burglar and fire alarm systems, 24/7 in-house monitoring, and custom security designed to work with business operations. Bay Alarm has real people rooted in your community looking out for your business. After 8 decades and 3 generations of family ownership, our promise is still the same. We got you. Learn more at bayalarm.com.
Hope you're with us yesterday when Daniel Petrie from Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors joins us, as he does every Thursday at 4:30. And, it's hard to think about retirement, but it's the reality. I know I've had to embrace it, and that's why 10 years ago I became a client of Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors. And as I've told you guys, it is literally the smartest financial move I've ever made in my life. I want to depend on more than just my 401k, and certainly more than just Social Security. And that's why I've invested with the folks at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors. And I've even turned on several colleagues here who could not be happier with the work that Daniel has done for them. Call Daniel today at 395-9400, 395-9400. And his office is right on the corner of 21st and Oak.
This broadcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice or a solicitation for advisory services by Daniel Petrie or MPWA Incorporated, DBA, Messmaker, and Petrie Wealth Advisors. The program host is a client and receives compensation and other financial benefits in connection with this advertisement, creating a conflict of interest. Experiences discussed may not be representative of other clients.
Supervisor Jeff Flores here. I'm proud of what we've accomplished together for Kern County. We've completed over 75 miles of new roads, as well as major road repairs, improving safety and traffic flow. We've opened a new facility on Roberts Lane that has captured 7 million pounds of bulky waste from our streets, completed major upgrades at Sandlin Ballpark and Hart Park, where a water splash pad is now under construction. And when you asked for stronger public safety, I listened and took action. We filled more than 200 new deputies and counting.
I'm Sheriff Donnie Youngblood. I've watched Jeff prove himself from day one, especially his commitment to public safety. Jeff listens and follows through. Our county is better for it. Please join me in voting for Jeff Flores.
I'm proud of the real progress we've made, but there's more work to do. I will continue fighting for a safer, stronger Kern County. I'm Jeff Flores, and I'd be honored to have your vote.
Ad paid for by Jeff Flores for Supervisor 2026.
Kern County is hiring its next state assembly member. Let's review the applicants. Applicant 1, Ana Palacio. Top funders, Sacramento Special Interests spending big to buy her the job. Healthcare plan, $700 billion government takeover that eliminates Medicare for millions of seniors and gives control of our healthcare decisions to Sacramento politicians. Pretty radical. There's no way we can afford Ana Palacio. Applicant 2, Andre Gonzalez. Experience, elected to the Bakersfield City Council. Record, addressed housing affordability and brought jobs to Kern County. Healthcare plan, expand access and bring a medical school to Kern County. Accountable to Kern County voters. Oh, easy choice. Vote for Andre Gonzalez for state assembly. Kern County's voice every time. Ad paid for by Keep California Golden. Ad committee's top funders, California Association of Realtors, Alliance of California's Farmers and Ranchers, and California Building Industry Association. Not authorized by a candidate or a committee controlled by a candidate.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on Newstalk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Play that funky music, right? Play that funky music, white boy. Lay down the boogie and play that funky music till you die. Till you die. Want to thank Madeline. And please stand by. And Zachary Levy, who is works with the White House Media Affairs Office and helped us schedule this interview. And we've made some contact with them, so we may be getting more members of the Trump cabinet. And I shouldn't have called it a kooky cabinet because I think the majority of the members of the cabinet are competent. Obviously, Brooke Rollins is brilliant. I mean, think about this. She's damn near my age, so she was dealing with a different century, and she becomes the first female student body president at Texas A&M in the middle of Texas. You know what I'm saying? This is a brilliant woman. And I think Doug Burgum is brilliant. I think clearly the adult in the room has become Marco Rubio. I don't know if you've seen, I didn't get into this because I got into the gubernatorial poll, but I don't know if you've seen a most recent, very early, obviously, crazy early, but nevertheless, kind of examination of on both the right and the left, on the Democratic side and the Republican side. And I'm happy to report that Gavin Newsom is on the downside. So is Kamala Harris. I don't think any of us are surprised by that. And Marco Rubio is the one on the upkeep. He has risen dramatically in numbers because I think through this whole Epic Fury and Project Freedom, Marco Rubio has established himself as kind of the adult in the room. Again, I think Pete Hegseth is well intended, but is kind of a loose cannon. I think the Department of War was his idea. He's kind of a macho. I don't like macho. Nah, those kind of guys like to get into fights. You know what I'm saying? I like the kind of cop or the kind of military officer who regrets fights. They're the last ones that want to start wars. And these more zealous people like Hegseth scare the devil out of me. But J.D. Vance's numbers dipped a little bit as well. So it's interesting to see how this is shaping up in this cabinet or whoever is going to follow the president. And on the Democratic side, it is Josh Shapiro who is emerging. J.B. Pritzker is down. Newsom is down. Kamala Harris is down. And as I've said for many months, in fact, during the whole Kamala Harris, Joe Biden's leaving and Kamala Harris is being anointed, I said that had they done a primary, Josh Shapiro would have won. He comes from the Keystone State, which is a key state of the seven that determined the presidency, Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth. And he's a moderate Democrat. He's not woke. He's not crazy liberal. Are we ready for a Jew as president of the United States? 5 years ago, I would have said that's a stupid question. But in these times, these days, not so much. Not so much. I'm not certain that this country is ready for a Jewish president. I'm really not. I'm startled that it's 2026 and we've never elected a Jew. I really am surprised by that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. 842-5376, 842-KERN. Real quick before we get in the fight, what do you got?
Ralph, I still think you should check out Game of Thrones if you haven't already.
I have. The girl, I told you. You haven't been listening. I told you the girl turned me on to Game of Thrones. I just haven't been over there in a while. I'll be over there this weekend. I'm sure she'll let me watch it. We're having going to dinner tomorrow night. In fact, I just texted her. If the choo-choo goes off, that's the girl. One more.
The Michael J movie is great. I've seen it twice. Enjoyed it just as much the second time.
What Michael J movie? What are they talking about?
I'm not sure on this one. And yes, lots of smoking going on in places back then.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mentioned Michael Douglas, who's the executive producer of Cuckoo's Nest. He bought the script from his dad. I think he was for the old folks, he was on The Streets of San Francisco. Remember that with Carl Malden? Carl Malden and Michael Douglas was a young detective in San Francisco. And Carl Malden was like his mentor, and they were a group. It was like old people, Starsky and Hutch. Quick time out. We're heading into the final hour of the week. It's TRBS. Don't go anywhere.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN, 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm John Scott. Israel is escalating their military offensive in southern Lebanon.
Israeli troops are pushing deeper into villages in southern Lebanon. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told troops they are dealing a crushing blow to Hezbollah as they advance to controlling positions north of the Litani River. Meanwhile, military officials from both countries began talks at the Pentagon for the first time in decades. Lebanese officials tell the Associated Press their delegation wants a stop to ongoing hostilities and enforcement of the ceasefire, and they want any deal between Iran and the U.S. to stop the Israeli offensive. I'm Jennifer King.
President Trump still pondering moving forward with a deal to extend the Iran ceasefire and reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The head of the World Health Organization arriving in Congo's capital, Kinshasa, to support efforts against an Ebola outbreak. Medical personnel are struggling with equipment shortages, distressful populations, and armed groups. The outbreak of a rare type of Ebola is spreading faster than the response, with over 1,000 suspected cases and 238 deaths. The WHO is discouraging travel bans, but the U.S. has imposed a 21-day ban on non-citizens who have visited Congo and 2 neighboring countries. Pam Bondi defends the Trump administration's release of Epstein case files as she testifies before lawmakers. This happened on Friday.
Former Attorney General Pam Bondi stood behind the Trump administration's release of the case files on Jeffrey Epstein as she testified Friday before House lawmakers scrutinizing a process that was delayed and included personal information of potential victims. Bondi, who arrived Friday morning on Capitol Hill for her closed-door interview, was defiant in previous public testimony when she was confronted by lawmakers about the Epstein investigation. In her opening statement, she kept to the same tact. Bernie Bennett, Washington.
More on these stories from townhall.com.
Maybe this is you too. There's enormous frustration right now with healthcare costs. It is amazing. Healthcare costs for families in the last 20 years have almost tripled, and it just keeps getting worse. All this to say, this is why MediShare is so in demand right now. People are looking for alternatives, and MediShare is proven you can save thousands of dollars a year and actually like it more. Over 1 million Americans are now part of healthcare sharing, and MediShare is the gold standard. It's trusted, it works. It's been helping people save money and have peace of mind now for 30 plus years. It's not some big impersonal thing either. It's a community of people like you helping each other. So yeah, if you're frustrated too, here's your chance to make a refreshing change. You'll notice the difference as soon as you call. They're easy to talk to. You can get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number. Call 844-41-BIBLE. That's 844-41-BIBLE. 844-41-BIBLE.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update.
Good afternoon, I'm Kim Gordon. Just hours before graduating high school, a student is facing felony DUI charges after a crash on Thursday afternoon. KGET reports police responded to a crash involving 2 18-year-old students at Panorama Drive and Union Avenue. One was driving a motorcycle who lost control, hit the guardrail as passenger was ejected down an embankment. None of the injuries are life-threatening. Bakersfield Police and California Highway Patrol will be taking part in a nationwide crackdown Saturday at reducing DUIs. Police say the operation is meant to proactively remove impaired drivers from the road. Anyone who suspects a driver is impaired should call 911. A bill that reforms mental health diversion court decisions in California passed the Senate and is now headed to state assembly. The bill comes after former Kern County Supervisor Jack Scribner was approved for mental health diversion in his case where he was charged with child abuse. Scribner is accused of molesting his preteen daughter but was never charged with any sex crimes. His estranged wife and son are pushing for the bill to pass. Kern County will once again open its cooling centers for the summer starting on Monday. The centers open when temperatures exceed certain highs. The centers will be open from 1 to 8. They will operate through September 22nd. The cooling centers will open when summer temperatures forecasted by the National Weather Service exceed certain highs. A warning from PG&E to graduates and their families: secure your metallic balloons. This comes after more than 13,000 customers lost power in Kern County last year from those balloons. The balloons can cause an outage when they get tangled up in power lines. I'm Kim Gordon in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
To the rest well in a month
In
from
your
now,
apartment?
Hollywood Big Shot's gonna give you what you want.
What?
Too late, they start shooting in a week. I'm gonna make him an
I
offer.
was going to say, I'd have shot that motherfucker.
The Ralph Bailey Show. News
I
Talk
would've held the gun
96.1 and AM 1230.
I swear to God, I would.
KERN.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from KERN Studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Final hour of the broadcast, final hour of the week as we wrap up another 5 days, about 4 days of outstanding radio broadcasting right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, where we stream live at kernradio.com and broadcast live on YouTube. And of course, the Kern Radio studios are powered by Adaptive Networks. For all your IT needs, call a woman out of Los Gatos. They call her the Los Gatos party mom, Shannon O'Connor, 52 years old. She got a pretty damn harsh sentence, 35 years and 10 months in prison for conducting alcohol-fueled parties with children 13 to 15. We'll see about that. And I've got a racial question. Not really a racial question, it's a cultural question. I'm serious about this. I'm not trying to be funny. Why do Indian children, particularly Sikhs, dominate? And I do mean dominate, like the East Africans dominate marathons. How do they dominate these spelling bees? Did you watch any of the spelling bee?
Yeah.
I love that thing. We used to have the guy, the Fresno play-by-play guy, Paul, I don't know his last name because I'm old and I smoke a lot of weed. He's the commentator. And he became the commentator because he was a contestant as a child. And he does play-by-play for Fresno State as well. We used to have him on because I'm into the spelling bee. I missed it. I saw the highlights of the two finalists who were both Sikh children in 7th and 8th grade. But I mean, these are words that, like, to a word, I've never even seen in my life.
Dodecahedron.
Can't even pronounce them. Like, we can't do a spelling bee with, are these kids that brilliant? We can't do like recommended accommodation, words that the common person can't spell. Beneficiary, there are all kind of words that give people problems.
February.
I'm a former Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm a former copy editor, so I know the common mistake. What are some of the big mistakes? Recommended is a big one.
There, and there.
That's a huge one. Half this country doesn't know the difference between possessive there, T-H-E-I-R, and the contraction they are, which is there. Half the country doesn't know it. It's crazy. And I've got some other audio. I wasn't going to play it, but I'm going to play it now that we're going down this road. They're on the UCLA campus. And they have UCLA students read a paragraph. And this will blow your ever-loving mind. Like, it's one thing if you're at, like, Cal State LA, Cal State Long Beach, Cal State, but they're at the University of California at Los Angeles, and these kids can't read. I'll play it for you later on the broadcast. Quick timeout, coming right back. It's DRBS on a Friday. News Talk 96.1, AM 1230, where we stream live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. First Look with Scott Cox, morning 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Monday edition of the First Look program, we'll have the latest on our, 5th and 6th proposed data centers. We will have America's Job Center, jobs and the like. We've got the hot list. We've got traffic.
You got adaptive right here.
All right.
6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
As we've talked about, cybersecurity is a major issue in the 21st century. We've experienced it here as well. And that is one of the reasons, just one of the many reasons, that if you're a local business owner and you're concerned about your IT, that you should call the folks at Adaptive Networks at 661-241-0638. As we were just talking about, this is a major, major issue where people are taking information hostage, essentially. We saw it happen on an educational level, where the current community college district and the current high school district were basically taken hostage, their academic information. Well, the folks at Adaptive Networks can stave that off. And they can also, as I always talk about, if your stuff is taken, they know how to retrieve it. This can be huge. Call them today, 241-0638. Find out things that you may not even know that are holes in your IT. That's why we've teamed up as a radio station with the folks at Adaptive Networks. Call them again today at 661-241-0638 or hit them online at adaptive-net.com.
Progressive knows you could have easily taken the freeway, but you took the scenic route to see a waterfall and an oddly busy boiled peanut stand. Discovering the unexpected is exactly why you bought an RV, so protect it with a bundle from Progressive. Because although you may be 3 hours behind schedule, you're 6 jars of jam richer and possibly enrolled in a butter churning workshop. Switch to Progressive and protect your RV, boat, or motorcycle by bundling with your home or auto insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Dell PCs with Intel inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. For the time you forgot your charger at 8,
Passengers, we are now on our initial ascent.
or when you're bouncing between projects like a ping pong ball. We build PCs with long-lasting battery life, so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence, so you can stay focused on whatever you're doing. Dell Technologies, built for you. Dell.com/Dell PCs.
Meet Paul Sheldon's client, Dr. Roland Rodriguez.
Hello, this is Bakersfield General Surgeon Dr. Roland Rodriguez, client and friend of Mr. Paul Sheldon. It is my great pleasure and privilege to relate to all of you my absolute exemplary experience with Team Paul Sheldon. I have also referred a number of my colleagues to Paul Sheldon's office, only to receive the most stellar feedback from my doctor friends regarding the office's expert navigation through the complex maze that is Medicare. And even though Paul Sheldon himself is now facing some temporary health challenges, his long-standing and most experienced and expertly trained team of ladies, Christine, Kelly, and Lynn, continue to masterfully guide the clients through the complicated world of Medicare. You most definitely could not possibly do any better than to reach out to Paul Sheldon several months before turning 65. Thank you.
When Medicare matters, our team has
Where's
the
Luigi?
answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
Hey, it's JR Flores.
I did
Catch my show, The JR
You
Show,
just ran one?
starting at 1
You
p.m.
just ran one?
Now back to the Ralph
I
Bailey
did it?
Show on News Talk 96.1
Wow,
and
that's
AM
scary.
1230 KERN.
I wouldn't have shot him, but I would have grabbed my Michael Jordan and held him at gunpoint until the cops came. I really would have. I would have said, get on the floor, lie down with your hands behind your back, or I will shoot you. And if you get up, I'm going to shoot you. That's what I would have done. 842-5376, 842-KER. So let me get involved in this Los Gatos woman story, because I think she was having sex. One of the listeners said that she was just setting up sex between the folks at this party, but I don't think you get a 35-year term for that. Where did I put this story? There it is. Let's read this from the Los Angeles Times. A Northern California woman who hosted alcohol-fueled parties for her son. Oh, wait till you hear the excuse that she gives, why she did it. That's the payoff. A Northern California woman who hosted alcohol-fueled parties for her son and other teens and pressured the underage attendees to have sex was sentenced Thursday to 35 years and 10 months in prison. Following a 4-month criminal trial, a jury in March found Shannon Marie O'Connor, dubbed the Los Gatos Party Mom, guilty of 48 charges, including sexual penetration of an intoxicated victim, influencing a child to engage in sexual activity with another child, providing alcohol to a minor, annoying or molesting a child, and attempting to dissuade a witness from reporting a crime. O'Connor, 52, provided vodka, Fireball whiskey, beer, and hard seltzers to her party attendees. I want to hang out with this broad. She knows how to party. Who were mostly 13 to 15 years old. Now that I made some stupid comments at the top of the show. I was talking about 15-year-olds. 13, that's way too young. I think when you get into teenage years, I think there's a chasm between each year. You know what I'm saying? Each summer, I don't know about y'all's experience as children, but each summer, I was a different person. I guess we call that the maturation process. But I was a different person at 14 than I was at 13. I was a much different person at 15 than I was at 14. And in fact, I can remember, I don't know how this just popped in my head, but I remember we were in 9th grade. We were at PE. And Stephen Shea, one of the kids that played Linus, hit me in the face. We were playing, you ever played European basketball? Where you play with a volleyball and you can dribble.
Oh, yeah.
But you can only dribble like twice.
Something like that, yeah.
And you can throw it. I can't remember.
Kooky rules.
It's a really weird game. And Stephen Shea hit me in the face with the volleyball. And I just went like this. I went and pretended that I had been knocked out and I was writhing on the ground like I'd been murdered or something. And Coach Costello mentioned to one of my friends, Ralph was really mature. Because I think last year he'd have been all upset about that and wanted to fight Stephen. But he just took it in stride. So I think there's a chasm between the point I'm trying to get at in a very long way is there's a difference between a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old. 13-year-old is insane. But a 15-year-old experiencing sex with an older woman, I just don't see that as debilitating. I don't see that as a mark on his life that's going to change him. Other than, I think it does create a disrespect for women. I really do. I went through that. I was a virgin until I was a sophomore in college, literally. And to be blunt, once I found out how simple it seemed, I lost my mind. I absolutely lost my mind. And I went through a period where I absolutely didn't respect women. And I didn't even know it. I didn't really know it until I literally, and we all mature at different stages. But I was literally older than Chris. I was like in my mid-30s when I finally met Roxana, who she was the first girl I had never cheated on in my life. I had cheated on every single girlfriend that I dated because none of them I thought I was going to marry. Roxanne, I should have married. And I'm sure you're tired of hearing that, but I don't know. Well, sex is a weird thing to talk about, particularly when it comes to children. Let's get back to Miss Les Gatos. Let me start talking about Roxanne. Miss O'Connor cast a wide net. Santa Clara County Superior Court Judge Elizabeth Peterson said Thursday during a sentencing hearing she groomed, manipulated, provided alcohol to, and sexualized successive groups of her son's friends and classmates. When parents became suspicious of her conduct and forbid their children from attending Miss O'Connor's parties, she reflexively drew other children into her lair. O'Connor dabbed her eyes and nose with issues as she addressed the court, saying she regrets what happened and emphasizing she's never had sexual inclinations toward any minors, including those involved in the case. Maybe you're right, caller, listener. Her attorney, Stephen Prosco, told the court that O'Connor's actions were attempts. Listen to this. Her actions were attempts to improve her teen son's social life during COVID-19 pandemic. So the son was locked up, so she figured she'd invite the fellas over and feed them booze and whiskey and encourage them to have sex with one another. It doesn't say declaratively because it does say she molested them. Murkowski argued for Peterson's sentence his client to between 14 and 20 years behind bars. Well, you're in trouble when your attorney is asking for 14 to 20. You're in trouble. Saying that the maximum prison term likely would mean O'Connor would die in a cage. That's what I freaked out at. She's 52 and she got 35 years. That's a death sentence. That's a life sentence. This case is about the children. Let's not forget about them. Children as young as 11 years old. 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old children who are not able to protect themselves from Miss O'Connor. It's actually offensive, like deeply offensive, that her remarks still show zero accountability for what she did to them. Saying, "I'm sorry you got hurt," is not an apology. Dozens of victims and their parents spoke during the multi-day sentencing hearing and recounted how the events at the parties hosted by O'Connor left them with lasting trauma. A mother of two of the victims, identified as Jane Doe's 8 and 9. 8 and 9? Like, do you even know what's going on at 8 or 9? You don't know what's going on. You're like, what's this? Why is my body part changed? At 8 or 9, you don't even know what an erection is.
No, there's no way.
You really don't.
No way.
That's like not even 6th grade.
Like, you may have heard it or like seen some stupid joke on television, but you don't know what it is.
When did you become sexually active? I began in 6th grade. We began playing spin the bottle.
I feel like,
in 6th grade.
is probably
5th grade, I hated girls. 6th grade, I had a girlfriend who was scared to death of her. Annette Ortiz. I've told the story 1,000 times. Annette Ortiz was my first ever girlfriend. I sent her a letter saying, check a box. Annette, this is Ralph Bailey. Do you like me as a friend? More than a friend? Not at all. And she checked more than a friend. And I was the happiest black man in Cerritos, California. And if I saw Annette Ortiz coming down the hallway, I'd go the other way. And for some reason, I could interact with her at like recess, like play tetherball and Foursquare. I was one of the great Foursquare players in the history of Cerritos, by the way. But in like classrooms and in other settings, I was scared to death. Final half hour, don't go anywhere.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN.
Indexes closed higher on Wall Street, adding to the all-time highs. They said a day earlier, the S&P 500 adding 0.2%, the 7th straight gain for the index. The S&P also closed out its 9th straight winning week, the longest such streak since 2023. The Dow added 0.7%, but NASDAQ rose 0.2%. A federal judge says Donald Trump's name must be removed from the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. U.S. District Judge Christopher Cooper ruled that the rebranding of the Kennedy Center as the Trump Kennedy Center violates the law and ordered that Trump's name be removed from the building within 2 weeks. In health news, the cigarette smoking rate among U.S. adults has dropped to another all-time low last year. This is SRN News.
Patrick was way. Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230, KERN. Headlines from the KERN newsroom.
Good morning. I'm Kim Gordon. Election day is Tuesday, and more than 57,000 ballots have been returned to the Kern County Election Office. Over 460,000 ballots were mailed to voters. If you still have your ballot, it can be dropped off in an official drop box, a polling center on Election Day, or put in the mail. Bakersfield Police and the California Highway Patrol will be taking part in a nationwide crackdown Saturday at reducing DUIs. Anyone who suspects a driver is impaired is asked to call 911. From road safety to school safety, the Youth Safety Act has advanced in the California State Senate. The bill would increase collaboration between schools and local and state agencies. If approved, the bill would establish a pilot program focused on identifying safety threats. I'm Kim Gordon in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
Supervisor Jeff Flores here. I'm proud of what we've accomplished together for Kern County. We've completed over 75 miles of new roads, as well as major road repairs, improving safety and traffic flow. We've opened a new facility on Roberts Lane that has captured 7 million pounds of bulky waste from our streets, completed major upgrades at Samlin Ballpark in Hart Park, where a water splash pad is now under construction. And when you asked for stronger public safety, I listened and took action. We filled more than 200 new deputies and counting.
I'm Sheriff Donnie Youngblood. I've watched Jeff prove himself from day one, especially his commitment to public safety. Jeff listens and follows through. Our county is better for it. Please join me in voting for Jeff Flores.
I'm proud of the real progress we've made, but but there's more work to do. I will continue fighting for a safer, stronger Kern County. I'm Jeff Flores, and I'd be honored to have your vote.
Ad paid for by Jeff Flores for Supervisor 2026.
Wake up, y'all. This here's Mia the Mosquito. Me and my girls are back and ready to chew up Kern County. You know we like a good party.
Help fight the bite, Kern County. Dump all standing water and remember to apply insect repellent. If you do have a mosquito problem, visit kernmosquito.com. It's a free service.
Or don't, and we can all hang out together like we did last year, leaving your windows and doors open.
Visit kernmosquito.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, mornings 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Monday edition of the First Look program, we'll have the latest on our, 5th and 6th proposed data centers. We will have America's Job Center. We'll talk about jobs and the like. We've got the hot list. We've got traffic and weather. With all the news you've come to know and expect. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230. KERN.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here, host of the First Look with Scott Cox radio program. You are listening to the Ralph Bailey Show right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1230.
Do it.
Not unless you're trying to dance like him.
Well, yeah, I'm excited about this documentary that's about to drop on Wednesday on Netflix. I'll tell you all about it on Thursday because I'll be watching it. I'm excited about this. If you haven't heard about this, it's a separate documentary that deals specifically with Michael's problems with the kids, and this thing went to trial. If you're too young to remember, this thing went to trial in Santa Barbara, and he was facing 10 felony counts, 4 counts for applying kids with liquor, which I thought, we talked about this last week, I thought that was conceded. I thought that was common knowledge. They even had a name for it. Remember, they called it Jesus juice, allegedly, that he was giving to these kids. But he was found not guilty. He was acquitted on all 10 charges, all felony charges that would have put him. There was no jury. I think it was much like OJ. I don't know what the racial makeup of it was. OJ's acquittal had nothing to do with OJ. The OJ acquittal had to do with black people just being angry at the system. Let's be honest. And I didn't recognize that. As you've heard me talk about, I lost $100 to Gene Lorenz, who was a legendary attorney in this town. And I was doing television at the time. I told you this, Mark Olish and I covered the trial. We went down that night, spent the night downtown, and then covered the trial. I covered the outside, the kind of circus. There were live trucks, satellite trucks, literally from all over the country. I mean, you think about a gargantuan parking lot. I mean, a large parking lot, and it's nothing but satellite trucks from almost every state in the country. And thousands of people lined in the streets. You could not drive through the downtown area by the federal courthouse. And, it dawned on me about an hour in. I turned to Tommy, my photographer, and I said, what are we going to do if he's found guilty? Because it's going to get crazy around here, and we are in the midst of it. And Tommy said, I'll grab the camera, you grab my belt, and we'll run for the truck. Because it never dawned on me that, but I bet Lorenz, he was in our newsroom the night before as our expert, and he went on set and said, no way they convict him. No way. And I'm in the newsroom. I'm like, what's he talking about? And he went on, a black jury never convicts this guy, never in a million years. And my head exploded. So he comes into the newsroom, and I said, Mr. Lorenz, with all respect, I have to completely disagree with you. because if what you say is true, black folks wouldn't be going to jail in Detroit, Atlanta, DC. Those are black juries. Those are black cities. And he said, "We gonna put some money on? Let's put $500 on it." I said, "Do you see where I work? I'm on television. I'll put 100 on it though. They're gonna find he's as guilty as sin." And lo and behold, as I've always said, whenever I tell this story, Tommy had his camera running by accident. Didn't realize he still had it on, and we were crouched down listening to it on a radio. We were outside amongst thousands, and the most eerie part of that whole day was when the clerk started talking, and I'm talking about shoulder to shoulder in front of the federal courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. The streets are packed, and it sounded like the 72nd hole at the Masters. It was the most eerie silence I had ever heard, and you could hear it was like it was like going to a Dodger game in the 70s. You remember when we would go to Dodger games in the 70s? And it didn't matter where you were in the park, you could hear Vin Scully because everybody had transistor radios and everybody wanted to hear Vinny. And if you were standing in line trying to get a dog, you heard Vinny. That was before they put up the TVs in the lines. Didn't matter where you were in the park, you could hear Vinny. And we're sitting there huddled down, and everybody else got boom boxes and radios, and you could hear the clerk vividly. And when she said not guilty, Tommy pulled up and I was on the other side, and we almost put it on as part of the package because my face, I'm just like, what? They found him not guilty? And of course the crowd went absolutely berserk. And that is one of my least proud days of African Americans. That and my celebrating Ronald Reagan's assassination attempt in my freshman year in college are the two things I'm most embarrassed by. Because I hadn't seen, later we would see the compilation from all across the country. College kids amassed together, people in black businesses gathered together, and just celebrating that this man killed two people and got away with it. And as I said, it had nothing to do with OJ. There's an old phrase that OJ is as black as Chris Burdick. And what that means essentially is he dated white people. His business were all white people. He lived in Brentwood in the 80s and the 90s when it was pretty damn exclusively white. It's changed. And everyone he dealt with was white. He had very few black friends other than, what was his name? Who drove him in the Bronco?
I can't remember. I thought it was, honestly, every time I think about this, I always think
CC or MB or RD. I forget his name. Anyway, that's about the only brother friend that he had. And Marcus ended up sleeping with his wife.
Al Cowlings?
Al Cowlings, AC. Thank you. But that had nothing to do with OJ. That had more to do with Rodney King than it did OJ. It had more to do with Johnny Cochran than it did OJ. And then, if you remember correctly, it was so funny. OJ then suddenly became black after the trial. He was going to church in Crenshaw. He was hanging out there on Stocker Avenue, which feeds into the Crenshaw area. He was seen in Leimert Park, which is a black area, really nice business midtown area in Los Angeles. And it was just like, come on, Juice. You know you're west side of the 405, man. Come on, Pop. You ain't been on this side of the 405 since your days at the Coliseum. Boy, that's what's the matter with you. That was a fascinating time. And only now are most African Americans admitting, of course he did it. But you know what I've always said? Two things can be true at the same time. And the detective, oh, by the way, we just identified the death of Mark Furman, who OJ should have sent Christmas presents to every year. If it's not for Mark Furman, well, it still would have probably acquitted him. But Mark Furman is the one that changed that trial when he tried to lie. I mean, if he had just said, yeah, I've used the N-word, I don't think that necessarily makes me a bigot. You know, you're going to tell me black folks use it. If he had just been blunt and honest, probably could have got away with it. But when you get caught lying as a witness on the stand, everything you say is questioned And obviously, this black jury was leaning that way anyway. So they just gave them an excuse, gave them a reason to rationalize allowing a man who just mutilated 2 bodies. And poor Ronald Goldman. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But you know what? That's what you get for having a clandestine relationship with some woman. You do know that they were in a relationship, but he wasn't going there. What they say? What? He was returning her mother's glasses. Her mother left her glasses at the restaurant. He was returning the glasses.
Weakest excuse
I
on the
mean,
planet.
have you ever had a waiter come to your home ever in your life? Have you ever heard of that? Have you ever heard of a waiter coming to your home with something you left at a place? No, they call you and they say, Mrs. Simpson, we've got your mother's glasses. We'll hold them here for you. You don't say, we'll send Ronald up to La Luna, from La Luna up to Brentwood to deliver the glasses while she's working on a bath and in a black nightie. I don't know if you saw the murder pictures, but she's in a black nightie. And there were candles around the tub with the kids asleep. She was about to have a late night tryst with her boyfriend, Ronald Goldman. And I think that's one of the reasons OJ enjoyed what he did, because OJ was aware of the fact that he was running around in the Maserati that he bought Nicole. And that didn't sit well with OJ. And I don't know if he knew she was going to be there. Obviously, probably not. But talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And Goldman, I guess you got to admire his courage. But I'll tell you what I would have done. Had I opened that gate and seen OJ there and all bloody and Nicole's body laying there, you know what I would have done? I'd have been gone. I'd have been running along the 405 back to my shoot. You're talking about one of the greatest athletes in the history of sports, 6'2", 220. And he's got a knife. Shoot. Exit stage left. I'm calling the cops. Think about if you had done that. Can you imagine? Taking the stand, Ronald Goldman. I entered the gate and I saw Mr. Simpson standing over her body. Can you imagine how different life would have been had he done? But the problem is, what's the problem with that scenario?
I'm not sure. Why would it?
It's O.J. Simpson. He'd have ran his ass down.
True. You can't outrun OJ.
You can't outrun OJ.
That's like running away from a bear.
Exactly. But that'd have been his best shot. But apparently he was a martial arts expert, was Mr. Goldman. So he tried to take on OJ. And OJ must have just laughed. OJ must have been like, brother, do you not see this knife? And do you not know who I am? He gave up a pretty good struggle, apparently. I've watched that. You ever watch the autopsy of? And Ronald Goldman and Nicole is one of the topics. And, he had defensive wounds and he was fighting him for a little bit, but then OJ got him. They believe that the first strike was a strike to the stomach side. And then, after you're wounded.
Yeah, it's not.
It's just straight out of Gladiator. He stuck that knife in the kid and still killed River Phoenix's brother. What's River Phoenix's brother? Joaquin. That's a great film. I haven't seen that
That's
in
one
a
of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie of all time.
I'm just such a sap. I hate movies that have a bad ending.
But did it really have a bad ending? He got to go be with his family in the end, technically.
In heaven?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess.
And everybody got set free. You got the real wholesome moment with him and I can never remember the actor's name, but the black slave. He was awesome.
Yeah, that's such a good film. That really, really is. Let's go ahead and take our final break of the week. Keep it locked. Scott Jennings at the top of the hour. Monday, I am gone. Gone like Donkey Kong. Be kind to Kathy Abernathy, who is filling in. It's her day. She's a Monday regular. So she is opted to guest host while I play in the Hey There, Delilah golf tournament up at Bakersfield Country Club. I'll tell you all about it on Tuesday. playing a little two-man shamble tomorrow with Mark Swain. I'll tell you about that as well. Very excited about that. In fact, if I were smart, I'd go hit balls in about a half an hour. But I'm not that smart. But I am going to go chip. I'm going to chip in my front yard tonight. And I got my Scotty Scheffler grip piece. I've been working on that in my kitchen. Hope my real estate people aren't listening. My floor sucks it up. I can swing a golf club on my kitchen floor. And I put a little mat down, but really excited about this weekend. Quick timeout, wrapping this thing up. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on Newstalk 96.1 and AM 1230, where we stream live at kernradio.com.
Kern Radio, News Talk 96.1.
Hey, can you take that piece of the interview where I say you're the first, and you were the first woman student body president, and then she goes, "Oh yeah, I've never had that question over my radio interviews," and just make that the promo.
I can. Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's do that
You want to do one
for the weekend. Yeah. Larry, who? Oh, really? Poor guy. Got left for a woman. God, how devastating must that be? Your wife comes to you and says, "I don't like penis."
kind of prefer it, to be honest with you.
I don't like penis.
I'd rather leave you for a woman than a man.
True that. True that. True that. All right, what did we do today? What did we do today? It's got to be something about Brooke Rollins. No, I'm not going to do Brooke Rollins. I don't know. I know. Here we go. You ready? 3, 2. I'm not a huge hockey fan, but I know enough to know about Claude Lemieux, who was one of the great hockey players. He was just in Montreal for one of the Montreal playoff games. Now we've learned that he hanged himself at the age of 60 with 4 adult children and a surviving wife. We are in the midst of a mental health pandemic. 3, 2. What should I do? Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday? 3, 2. It's that man again. Look what's coming up on the Tuesday TRBS. Well, it's a Tuesday, so our former federal magistrate judge Teresa Golder will be here, and our new Tuesday regular Howard Marcus moves from Wednesdays to Tuesdays. All that plus me at 3. It's TRBS Newstalk 96.1 AM 1230, and we're streaming live at kernradio.com. I'll see you Tuesday.
New Nordic on Amazon, or pick up some at your local CVS, Wegmans, or GNC.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore, and every Viking voyage is all-inclusive with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Hey, it's JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, starting at 1 p.m. Now back to the Ralph
and fire concert. I think it was in 11th grade. And it was a weird experience because their pyrotechnics just freaked me out. They had fire and wind and this huge globe that dropped down from the Forum. It was great. It was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. I was about 10th, 11th grade, 70, 77, 78, 79, something like that. 842-5376. We've got a few minutes left. Let's clear the board, get the Samuel out of here. I got to get a good night's sleep because I'm going to play some good golf tomorrow.
We're actually clear already.
I'm going to shoot 80, 86 or better tomorrow. I just can't crap the bed on the back. The front is going to be easy. I play well on the front. And plus, we're going to be playing Mark's drive. We'll maybe, in 9 holes, we'll probably use maybe 2 of my drives. You know, Mark doesn't hit. He's not going to hit 9 fairways or probably 6 fairways. What 2 par 3s? 7 fairways. So we'll probably end up using 2 of my drives, all 210 yards of them. But mostly we'll be using his from 270 out. We'll have the front 9 for me is going to play like a whole different golf course because I'm going to be in spots shooting at the green from areas I ain't never been before, not in the last 10 years. So I'm really, really excited. And I'm just going to work on these tournaments come down to making putts. So I'm just going to try to work on I'm certainly not going, if I leave 1 putt short, I'm going to give Mark a 5 spot for every putt I leave short. Because in a 2-man situation like that, it's just shooting yourself in the foot to leave something short. I'm excited about that. And then on Monday, I'm playing in the Hey There Delilah tournament. So again, Kathy Abernathy will be here on Monday, and I'm back on Tuesday with our old, new, regular Howard Marcus, moving from Wednesdays to Tuesday. By the way, happy birthday to Mary. It's Mary's birthday out there. Happy birthday, Mary. Hope you're got some electricity on up there and having a good time on your birthday. Meantime, our top story of the day, and we unfortunately did not get to speak to Mark D. Camillo. He was scheduled to come on the program. He is the director of the UC Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies, and they have conducted 3 polls throughout this long campaign, and the most recent was put in the field May 19th through the 24th, and it has Javier Becerra atop of the leaderboard at 25%, and Steve Hilton hanging in there at 22%, but Tom Steyer hanging around in a very precarious 3rd position, precarious for Steve Hilton, because if Steyer makes a late 11th hour rush and folks get on board, we may not have a Republican in the general election. That would be devastating because I don't know about you all as Republicans, but this is as close as we've been since Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think we all knew that Schwarzenegger was going to win that crazy, crazy election that literally had 52 candidates. This one has 61. That special recall election after they got rid of Gray Davis. I literally still have a deck of cards that have all of the 52 candidates' faces and names on them, including a porn star. Do you remember her name? Mary something? Mary Queen of Scots, or she had some crazy kooky name, but she was a presidential candidate. And one of the janitors at CSUB he's a Native American cat who I knew when I was managing editor of the newspaper because we'd be in there all hours of the night, and he'd come in to take the trash. We got to know this guy pretty well. And he was a gubernatorial candidate, and he was on the card as well. This is going to be zany, though. This really, really is. And it doesn't appear that Hilton's going to get any support from Bianco. He's on his own. And I think he can beat either Steyer or Becerra. But going into this, because it'll be election day when I come back, I think our best bet, I think we got the guy we wanted. I think Javier Becerra is vulnerable. I really do. I think he's susceptible to defeat. He is an incompetent human health services secretary. The Democrats have stated that. That's not a Republican analysis. They categorically state, you heard Xochitl Anoso, who was part of the Biden administration, say, you could ask, it wasn't just her opinion. She said, you could ask any member of the cabinet, that knew. I mean, that means that your poor work was glaring. You couldn't even hide it. for her to say that every member of the cabinet knew he wasn't holding up his end of the bargain? That is devastating. But yet we're a kooky state and he's got support. And again, I'll repeat, the governor of this state is not endorsing him, despite being the clear frontrunner, despite having massive late support. Again, 2 months ago, Javier Becerra was at like 3%. Pre-Eric Swalwell, he wasn't even considered a player. And I erroneously predicted that it would be Tom Steyer and not Becerra. But this works out because I think Becerra is easier to beat. Steyer is more difficult because he's got tons and tons of money. I got to get out of here. Hope you have a great weekend. Want to thank all the folks at the White House that were involved in getting Secretary Brooke Rollins on the broadcast. Also want to thank our good friend Rick Bentley. And I apologize. We'll get Mark DiCamillo back on the broadcast. Kathy Abernathy hosting the show on Monday. I'm back on Tuesday. Be kind to Kathy and all of her guests. And in the meantime, for Chris Burdick, I'm Ralph Bailey. And that's what's really going on. I will rap to you on Tuesday.
Kern Radio, AM 1230, KERN. 96.1 FM, K241CI Bakersfield, an American General Media station.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm John Scott. We're waiting for a decision from President Trump. He held a White House Situation Room meeting as he looks to make a final determination on moving forward with a deal to extend the Iran ceasefire. Iran says the agreement has not been finalized. The deal would extend this ceasefire by 60 days and reopen the Strait of Hormuz as new talks are held on Iran's disputed nuclear program. Louisiana lawmakers have passed a new congressional map to pick up a Republican seat while leaving the state with one of its two majority Black House districts. We have details from Bernie Bennett.
The map approved Friday is designed to give Louisiana a 5-to-1 split in Republicans' favor. The U.S. Supreme Court last month struck down one of the state's majority Black districts as an illegal racial gerrymander, weakening the landmark 1965 Federal Voting Rights Act. That decision intensified a national battle over partisan redistricting, fueled by President Donald Trump's efforts to protect the GOP's slim House majority in this year's midterm elections. Bernie Bennett reporting.
And this late word, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry has signed the redistricting law and plan into law. In health news, another drop in the nation's smoking rates. Correspondent Lisa Dwyer with that report.
A CDC survey finds that the cigarette smoking rate among U.S. adults dropped to another all-time low last year, with only 1 in 11 adults saying they are current smokers. The rate has been